The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Scott Norton, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith and Karen Peterson. On today's show, we'll be reviewing the Best of Super Juniors and World Tag League Finals, the Super J Cup Finals, previewing the road to Tokyo Dome, answering your questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. You can check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. And like you heard in the intro, we are joined by popular demand, back by popular demand, Karen. How are you doing?
I'm great, guys. I don't know if a popular demand warrants it or not, but I am glad to be here.
I mean,
we got a lot of
great feedback from your
reactions.
Yeah.
Aw, that makes me very happy.
And young boy, how you doing, man?
I'm good. We just got done recording Ricky and Clive, and that was like a 2-hour podcast, so this is like a marathon session right now. But my favorite beer was back. Cream and Sugar Please was back on the shelves, so I copped some of that. So that's it's a Christmas miracle. It's been gone like all pandemic. I don't know.
Really, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's from Cycle Brewing, like down St. Pete. Like you can get it if you go there, but like it hasn't been in the stores. I guess I don't know. People don't like porters. I don't know.
Well, before we jump into all of our reviews and stuff, just want to remind you guys about our Keeping It Strong Style year-end awards. Friday is the last day to get your votes in for the awards. So get your votes out. The link, it's pinned at the top of the New Japan Reddit. You can find it on the Social Suplex site, on our Discord, Twitter. We want you guys go out there, vote. We're very close to what we want to hit for a number of voters. So
already?
Yeah. So get out there. Make your votes if you haven't voted yet. And
I know it's cliche, but every single vote counts. You guys have no idea. This is the closest year that we've ever had for a multitude of different categories,
right.
Especially some of the big ones. Hint, hint. So
yeah, your second and third place votes don't throw those away. Those
matter.
Those are going to determine some winners in some of the categories. So yeah, get your voting out there, guys, and then
those are like the Michigans and Ohio's and Wisconsins, if you will.
Yeah. So voting ends 11:59 p.m. on Friday, and then on next week's episode, we will announce the winners of the awards with a guest from VoicesOfWrestling.com. Rich Craich from the Voice of Wrestling flagship will be joining us to announce the winners for those awards. So lots of stuff to look forward to here on Keeping It Strong Style.
Yeah, he's coming into the big leagues.
But let's get started talking about these shows here. Quite a few shows to talk about. So we're starting off with the best of the Super Junior and World Tag League final night from last Friday. So what are you guys' overall thoughts on this wrap-up of the tournament?
I guess I'll start. I felt like the best of the Super Juniors final / World Tag League final was the first time in a while that it felt like I was watching a real true-to-life New Japan show top to bottom. I mean, you can make the argument for, like, say, G1, but G1's kind of its own special thing, you know? And especially since there wasn't an undercard, it was kind of specialized. Maybe the Jingu show, you can make that argument, but it was outdoors. It was a special setting. Power Struggle to me didn't feel like it. Dominion didn't feel like it to me. New Japan Cup didn't feel like it to me. And this entire tour hasn't necessarily felt true to life, authentic, pre-pandemic New Japan. This felt as much as like a B-level show in New Japan could feel authentic without there obviously being, you know, loud chanting going on, because it was just a diversified show top to bottom. Most of the stars were there. You were getting angles. You were getting propulsion of new stories, new characters, new angles, things like that. And, you know, true classic at the very, very top. Like, this felt authentic New Japan to me.
What do you think, Karen?
Well, what I think about it was that, like Josh said, it felt like the first authentic show in a very long time. Given what they've had to deal with in the past, you know, year with everything with COVID, it was refreshing to kind of have that feeling like everything felt like it was back to normal again. Like, all the big players, everybody was there, or almost everybody was there.
Right.
You had a little bit of everything for everyone. The hard thing for me was that having both leagues running at the same time right after the G1, I just felt so burnt out.
Yes.
That I had to prioritize. So for me, because, you know, I have my adult job, my shoot job, where I have to actually work and be coherent most of the time, that I picked Best of the Super Juniors to watch live, and then World Tag League I would watch the day of, but later in the day, you know, like after 8 o'clock in the morning. But the Budokan show, it just felt like we're just that one step away from everything feeling like we're back home again.
Yeah, and doesn't it kind of feel like these clap crowds are kind of settling into being more comfortable being clap crowds?
Yeah, I thought that the Budokan crowd was very energized, because there have been some nights on this tour where the crowds, they weren't quite getting into it, and they're just kind of watching. And so I definitely felt like the Budokan Hall crowd did bring that energy and helped elevate this show. And I agree with you guys. It definitely felt like authentic New Japan show. It does help that we are in Wrestle Kingdom season, and had a lot of the angles on the show that are building for January 4th and 5th, and just a lot of excitement. Even though obviously a lot of the undercard stuff wasn't anything blow away, but there were a lot of stories and angles that built to Wrestle Kingdom and got me hyped up for that.
It's just so strange that we're like less than 4 weeks away from Wrestle Kingdom. Like, it's, you know, Christmas and, you know, the New Year are rapidly showing up, and I'm just like, I know there's a lot of setup that still needs to be done before Wrestle Kingdom, but I just wonder how the next, you know, week's worth of shows is going to set up anything other than what they've announced so far.
Right.
You know, and we might be jumping ahead. I don't know that they're going to set too much more up. I think that most of the marquee stuff is kind of out there, and I don't think they're going to be doing too many more, like, big feuds or, you know, progressions. I honestly think we're getting a lot of multi-man matches and stuff like that on the undercard.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second. We will talk about the announced Wrestle Kingdom matches in the news section. I know there's tons of questions about that. So let's dive into this Best Super Junior World Tag League final. So the card opened up. We had the Bullet Club team of Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, and Taiji Ishimori defeating the Chaos team of Robbie Eagle, Sho, and Toriano, 5 minutes and 53 seconds.
This was fine. I thought it was, you know, pretty fun for what it was. Obviously, the big setup here is the story of Yano not being able to body slam Bad Luck Fale. I guess I was just a little disappointed that Robbie Eagles was like the casualty in all this, but you know, his time in the sun will come, I guess.
Yeah.
No, my take is that I was hoping Sho would pin Ishimori. I kept holding out for that one Hail Mary for him, but it is what it is, and it set up a match, so.
Yeah, it was a fine opener. Also, post-match, we had the angle of Yano continuing to try and body slam Bad Luck Fale. He failed to do it. Fale slammed him and stomped on the taped-up KOPW trophy, which we would then learn this is setting up a KOPW body slam title match on one of the Road to Tokyo Dome shows.
Which should be a banger.
We did have a question here from our buddy Sir Sam over at WrestlingHeadlines.com. He asked, after his performance in Best of Super Juniors, do you think Robbie Eagles has a chance to hold the IWGP Junior Championship?
I definitely think he's got a good chance at holding the title just because while it's a prestigious championship, most major players in that division at some point get a title run. How like lengthy or how many, you know, meaningful matches they end up or defenses they end up having is up for question. But, you know, we kind of saw this past World Tag League that there is sort of a vacuum of guys that have left and there's holes to be filled. And I think Robbie Eagles could definitely be one of those guys. So I don't see any reason why he couldn't hold the title eventually.
I think he can hold the title, and at some point he will hold the title. I just don't think he'll be in Chaos when it happens. I think he's going to be shifting elsewhere to where, you know, there's a group of young upstarts starting their own little kingdom, faction, empire, doohickey, thingamabobber. Because the hard part about Chaos is that once everyone's back, there's 4 juniors. There's Sho, Yo, Rocky, and Arabi. And I feel like as much as I love Robbie, he's not going to shine, especially after the year Sho's had, as long as he's in Chaos.
Right, and I know we've talked about this, Josh. We kind of feel that Roppongi 3K is not going to be a thing when Yo comes back.
It's not. I'm waiting to have my heart broken, and it's fine. I'm coming to terms with it.
But it's going to be good news for your boy Sho, because I think Sho is going to kind of take that quote unquote Will Ospreay spot as the top junior of Chaos, and I definitely think there's going to be great things for Sho. But as far as Robbie Eagles, I do think he is very capable of holding the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. He's a phenomenal performer, has great matches, and like we talked about last week, you know, the junior division is kind of built around the imports and guys that can bring in, and so Eagles is definitely a guy that they're going to want to continue to bring in, and he can pretty much have a good match with anybody, a very versatile guy that would, you know, be a great mix in that junior title picture.
Yeah. And I you know, we've heard a lot of speculation about Robbie Eagles joining the Empire, and we hadn't given too much credence to it because we haven't seen anything that truly really even hints or indicates it. But last week when we kind of wrapped up the tournament, we started speculating about it. We're like, you know, that move makes the most sense from logistics standpoint for all the same reasons that you mentioned, Karen. And I was like, it just kind of makes sense that he might be the next guy, especially with like all the, you know, one guy's from Europe or from England, one guy's from Hawaii, one guy's from, you know, Mongolia. And then you've got this Australian superstar over here kind of languishing down in the juniors. They don't have a junior guy yet. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Who invited Robbie to join New Japan?
Exactly.
Will Ospreay.
It wasn't Okada.
And you know, initially I didn't think he should join because I thought that was too much of a tip of the hat. Like, it's too obvious. But now it's like, well, you might as well do it because he didn't even have that hot of a Super Juniors kayfabe wise.
Right.
Well, it was. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was the thing where, you know, he came into New Japan and went to Bullet Club, did Bullet Club for a little bit, didn't work out, went to Chaos, and I just feel like, again, like we said before, Chaos is just too congested. They're hoarding all the juniors.
Yeah.
they gotta let one or two go away.
My only issue that I would have with Eagles joining the Empire is I think Eagles is, for me, much better as a babyface than he is a heel. I was not digging him as a heel in Bullet Club, and I thought once he became babyface, he just connected so much better with the audience and with me, and just it really helped his performances. I don't know, maybe things will be different this time around, but I really like him in the babyface role.
My one question to you would be this. Can you think of one other person that kind of fits what they're going for in Empire right now that's in New Japan?
That's a junior?
I mean, the only other one I could think of, and I'm not even sure I'm convinced of it, but like maybe Ryu Lee.
Rocky.
You could do Rocky too, yeah.
Like if you're gonna make another foreign heel faction, Rocky would be the obvious choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. The other way I'm thinking of is that Yo comes back, turns on show, and jumps ship because he wants to be the star of the juniors, and he's not going to do it in Chaos again because you can only have one ace in each group. So
right,
yeah.
Well, speaking of the Empire, they were in action next on this night. The first time that all three members were teaming as a unit here. So we had the Great Okan, the Hatchet, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay, accompanied with B. Priestley, defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, and Toa Hanare.
Yeah, I saw some clamoring online about when are they going to start announcing the Stardom matches for Wrestle Kingdom. And I don't get it because they got women in New Japan. They got B. Priestley right here.
How dare you?
Just joking.
Don't make me get in my car and drive down there.
But no, I was actually very excited to see Okan, Cobb, and Ospreay work as a unit for the very first time because we haven't really seen that. And I thought they were pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought they gelled together really well. Obviously, Cobb and Okan have had times to kind of work the kinks out during this Long World Tag League tour. But yeah, we really haven't seen. We saw a little bit of Ospreay and Okan before the Tag League tour. But yeah, the first time all three of them working together, I thought they looked really well.
I'm just glad to see Jeff Cobb, finally thriving and, personally, I prefer him as a babyface because I know he's actually a really nice guy. But seeing that he's found a character, he's harkening back to Matanza and all those, his heel personas. I'm grateful that he's finally getting that shine because he's been in New Japan for several years, but he's always kind of been in the background and people talk about him here and there. But now he's getting like thrust to the forefront, especially with his upcoming match.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like a lot of people would have looked at this matchup and said, okay, well, they got, it's Tanahashi, Okada, and Hanare, so they're probably going to lose because they got Hanare to be the fall guy. But that was not my thinking at all. My thinking was Tanahashi and Okada on the same team. Oh, they're definitely losing because they always lose when they team together. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. The Mega Aces cannot get it together, but the Mega Aces suck together for some reason. It's like they cancel each other out for some reason.
It's too powerful. It's like two magnets. They just kind of bounce off of each other.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of even forgetting, like, did the Empire cheat to win here?
No. So Cobb just ended up hitting Toa Hanare with the Tour of the Islands.
Oh, and it was like the momentum that he got off of it. I felt like it was one of the best Tour of the Islands I've seen in like ever.
Yeah, and then after that we had the post-match attack. Well, we had Okada and Ospreay squaring off, and Okada grabbing Ospreay by the throat. But then that leads into Cobb helping get an Os cutter off on Okada. Okada's laid out. B. Priestley gives Okan a chair, and he's attacking Tanahashi's knee with the chair, and they bash Tanahashi's knee with the chair, and then the Empire stands tall.
Yeah, I think it was one of the speculations we had when Tag League first started. People were like, are we getting Okan Tanahashi? And I was like, well, I mean, that one attack wasn't enough for me to think that, but let's see how this tournament plays out. Maybe something else will happen. Well, here we are now, weeks later, and something else has played out. So it's very clear that something is going to be going down between Tanahashi and Okada going forward. And we kind of have the continuation of the Ospreay-Okada feud, which I got to tell you guys, as excited for the match as I am, I think it's been a detriment to this story, the fact that they kind of had to take a sidestep while these two tournaments played out, because I've had very little interaction throughout, ever since the initial turn. I mean, this is the one angle, and I'm sure we'll have some stuff on the road to it, but I feel like the magnitude of this match is kind of lost, where there should have been a lot more spotlight, a lot more angles, a lot more promos, more like attention paid to this feud, and I think they're trying to salvage it now.
Well, that's the thing that I'm curious about as well, because we only have these next 2 weeks and then we go right into the Dome. But I kind of think back to when Jay White turned on Chaos, that it went beyond just a couple of matches, went beyond a couple of the big milestone marker events throughout the year. So I think Chaos versus the Empire may continue well into the early first quarter of 2021, which is why I think some juniors are jumping ship. But that's a different story. But it's the same thing with what I found interesting about Jeff Cobb was that this was the first time in a post match, if I'm not mistaken, that he laid his hands on Tanahashi to hurt him post match. Like when they had their original tag match, he's just sat in the corner, he crossed his arms, he didn't do anything. This was the first time he actually held him down, which I was like, boy, don't make me hop a plane. I'm gonna hurt you. But it's just one of those things where I feel like they're just like with the Jay White thing. It's going to continue. I think it's going to continue at least until New Beginning. There's going to be more fallout moving forward. I don't think everything's just going to end on the 4th and the 5th. I
think that's probably very accurate.
Yeah, definitely the kind of build to Wrestle Kingdom definitely got thrown into the loop with this double Best Super Junior and World Tag League tour, because normally, we'd have a Destruction tour in the fall, and then we would have King of Pro Wrestling in October, and then we would have Power Struggle in November, and then we'd have World Tag League, but still a lot of stuff would be built between those kind of big tours, and so we kind of missed out on that. Like you mentioned, Josh, I do feel like they're trying to do the best they can. I'm sure there will be some more angles on the Road 2 shows to come. But yeah, I definitely agree with you, Karen. I think this Empire Chaos feud is going to be something that we see kind of played out, especially probably that the New Beginning tour. We're probably going to see that. And we'll probably see more people joining the Empire. Maybe we'll finally get a logo for the Empire and kind of see the Empire kind of become more fully formed. We got music. I don't know if it's Ospreay's new single music or it's the Empire's music, but they did come out to new music this night as well. So they're definitely kind of slowly, forming the Empire as, a solid unit in New Japan.
New Year's Dash might be another day we have to really keep a close eye on what's going to happen.
Nothing ever happens on that day.
Everything happens on that day, and you know it.
So next up, we had the LIJ team of Sonata and the current never openweight champion Shingo Takagi defeating the Bullet Club team of Evil and Yujiro Takahashi.
I mean, this was a shocking outcome with how well Evil and Yujiro did all throughout the tournament.
Yeah, I was really expecting, Yujiro to hit the pimp juice on Shingo and set up a never title match.
This makes me wonder if Yujiro's actual power comes from Peter being at ringside. I'm still convinced she's the leader of Bullet Club. She holds all the power.
I agree with that. Yeah, man. But I mean, the big story here, we kind of knew going into this night that a lot of different angles, matches be set up, and the big question going into the Dome season was like, what's Sonata doing? What is Evil doing? And then when you kind of saw this match laid out, it became very clear, like, oh, maybe we're going to a battle of former partners. Sonata is the one guy that Evil has not really truly feuded with since he jumped ship from LIJ this past year. I mean, I guess Bushi too, but I don't really count him. This match is clearly the catalyst to set up the Evil Sonata feud, which, I know a lot of people that are like big time LIJ fans were like, one day this will be a world title match to headline Wrestle Kingdom. Like, maybe it will be, but not this year. But it will be at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, so in the post-match, obviously the LIJ team won. Shingo hit the dragon on Yujiro. And then post-match, we had Sonata continuing his attack on Evil and then kind of meeting in the aisle. And they kind of fought all the way to the backstage of the arena there. And there's some kind of footage that came out of them kind of jaw-jacking and continuing to brawl backstage. So obviously setting the stage for this Evil Sonata match down the line.
I have waited 8 months for Sonata to finally pull the plugs out and lose his you-know-what on Evil. I've waited. That post-match beatdown was fantastically delicious. I was so happy it finally happened.
And then also, as Sonata and Evil were brawling, Jeff Cobb made his way down to the ring and got into a little tug-of-war with Shingo over the Never title and used that tug-of-war to pull Shingo into an awesome-looking tour of the islands and obviously holding up the Never title, so obviously setting up the stage for Shingo and Cobb.
You let that man know this belt is mine.
Yes, and it was a better tug-of-war than Roman and Brock.
No.
Yes. Yes, it was.
And so then that takes us to the next matchup where we had Kota Ibushi teaming up with Master Wato, of course, company with Hiroshi Tenzan. They defeated the team of Bushi and Tetsuya Naito.
Do you remember all those times on The Office where Dwight would be like assistant regional manager? They're like assistant to the regional manager. I think every time someone says Master Wato, someone should say way to the Grandmaster Wato.
I thought you were gonna call like Tenzan like the assistant.
No,
regional master or something.
No, Wato is the assistant to, or Wato's the way to the Grandmaster because he's definitely not the I don't know why he's still called master. Like they made it very clear he's on the way to being a master.
Well, he's a master. He's on the way to being a grand master.
Okay.
My favorite takeaway from Best of Super Juniors was Tenzan going on Twitter and confirming that yes, he is Master Wato's diva. as per Hiromu's strategy guide, he confirmed it. He's like, yes, I am a diva. Or I'm like, okay, Tenzan.
The most cringe moment of the entire Super Juniors was the night that he beat Desperado, and then he like told everybody in the audience, he's like, I will be the Grand Master. Silence. I felt so bad.
Oh man. So I mean, yeah, obviously this matchup here was really to preview the Ibushi Naito IWGP title match that will be happening on January 4th, first night of Wrestle Kingdom 15.
And to set up this Fire Wato Bushi feud.
Don't know about all that, but yeah, like I mentioned last week, love the kind of the chemistry that Naito and Ibushi have, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do on January 4th.
You mean all the murder they're going to do? There's a reason why they're kept apart for long periods of time.
Yes, I'm looking for all the flat neck bumps, all the bumps on the apron.
All the Naito like naysayers are gonna have to shut up because they're putting him in there with the Bushi, and that always rules.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts.
People are gonna lose their necks and their knees. I'm just, oof.
Well,
I'm excited, but I always get like it's at that point where they all have those injuries, and you're just like, oh, just don't go to the hospital. Just get through the match, but don't go to the hospital.
It's funny you mentioned knees and neck. Like Naito doesn't have much more knees to lose, and Ibushi.
Oh no, Tranquilo and Destino are tired. They're ready to retire.
And Ibushi doesn't have much neck left to lose either.
Honestly, the last time
with those traps, I think he's fine.
the last time that and I know that Naito's had some great matches since then, but the last time Naito really looked like the Naito of old was during the Ibushi 3-match series from a couple years ago, and those matches were so hellacious that I was like, I don't know if I ever want to see these guys wrestle again.
Yeah, it was nuts. But yeah, looking forward to January 4th with these guys. So we move into our semi-main event of the evening, the first of two double main events, I should say. First, for the World Tag League 2020 Finals, we had the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, with Master Heater Jado defeating Finjuice Finley and Juice Robinson 22 minutes and 15 seconds. What did y'all think about this final matchup of the World Tag League?
I will defer to Karen.
Oh, I was actually happy for Tama and Tonga because, they always go to the World Tag League final or World Tag League, and they never win it.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally shook that jinx and won it. And I think Tama's new look that, the internet loves to hate on, like the clean shaven, clean cut.
Handsome Tama.
Handsome Tama. What are you talking about?
Hey, if Tanahashi and Shibata say you look handsome, then you know what? That's top handsome. You don't argue with it. But I think that's also the one side of the potential Bullet Club Civil War that people aren't paying attention to is Tama and his brother and the people that Tama's brought into Bullet Club.
Like Ishimori.
Kenta.
And obviously Fale falls in line with them pretty much as well.
Yeah.
And probably Chase Owens too.
Yeah.
So everyone's all up on Jay and Evil, but they're missing one very crucial part.
It's the Tongans.
The linchpin and possibly the wedge. That
sounds really reminiscent of a similar Bullet Club Civil War where we were all wondering what the Tongans were going to do.
Yeah.
And then they rolled up and they cleaned house with their dad. So you know what?
Yeah, you remember that the end of that one being the Elite where all the Elite are sitting there and Cody's like, the fuck's up with Haku?
Yeah.
What's his problem?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll see Haku once again kind of getting involved in this Bullet Club Civil War.
A couple years ago, or maybe it was a year or two ago, I don't remember, we got to see Haku wrestle Gangrel locally.
Yeah, right here in Tampa. Very interesting indie show.
Pretty awesome. But
a lot of indie shows in Tampa are interesting. So,
but as far as this match goes, I'll say this: I've been pretty disappointed. I don't even know if disappointed is the right word, because I think God has performed as I would expect them to perform in this tournament, which was not super good, not bad, but they've just been fine. They've been middle of the road average. But the thing with this team is when they're called upon to really go out there and perform and put on like a banger when they're needed to, they are usually always capable of doing that, especially with the improvements they made over the past few years. And Finjuice is one of the teams that they work really, really well with. We saw that last year's final. And they went out there, and I thought this match was awesome. I think I'm higher on it than a lot of people. I think it went 3 3/4, just shy of 4 probably. I know a lot of people didn't like the way God won, especially with the overabundance of shenanigans, ref bumps, run-ins, things like that. But in this case, it worked for me because that's these guys' gimmick. It's what needed to happen. And I thought that they worked the match in a way to where it was really dramatic and dynamic. I loved when Master Heater got taken away by the Young Lions.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
And then he came back, and then Kenta made his way in, and it was the story was Finjuice should have repeated, but God had every contingency plan in place to ensure they got the W. And I didn't think that the way they did the cheating brought the quality of the match down, in my personal opinion. So I thought the match was really great. Plus, God needed to win one of these at some point. I mean, they were due for it, and this is the time to do it. And I'm looking forward to the potential IWGP title match that they have lined up for the Dome as well.
Yeah, I thought this match was a very good matchup. Like you, I agree. I don't feel like Kenta's interference brought the quality of the match down. It was almost a surprise for me because obviously Kenta was supposed to be on the Super J Cup card, and that card has been advertised as live. So I'm like, so Kenta's here? So what's going on? And so that was kind of a surprise of seeing Kenta kind of pop up there. And like we've said from the beginning of the preview of World Tag League, we pretty much called that it was going to be God winning this whole thing. They were going in this tournament not as the champions, which gave them all the chances to win. Like you mentioned, they've been in so many leagues, have been in so many finals, but have never won it. So it made all the sense for them to win this league. And then, last week I called it. I figured it was going to be God and Finjuice, kind of a rehash from the Wrestle Kingdom main event, or excuse me, Wrestle Kingdom tag match last year, and that God was going to quote unquote kind of get the win back and was going to win by nefarious means. But I didn't expect Kenta to be the one to kind of help them get the win there, but kind of went the way we kind of called it.
Well, the thing that I actually enjoyed about that match was that, when you have Jado or Geto or, Dick Togo in a match, at some point you have to wonder whether they're becoming a crutch for the heels to win. So yeah, when he got thrown out, I was like, it's like, 7:00 in the morning here and I'm screaming at my TV because that's what you do. And I was excited for it. But the fact that they brought someone else back in, especially one that everyone thought was here in the States, it just had that, the whole Bullet Club is a team mentality. It isn't my Bullet Club, it's our Bullet Club, and they do what's best for Bullet Club as a whole.
Right. Yeah, definitely showing that Bullet Club solidarity. And this could also play into something potential at the Dome. So as we know, Kenta is still the holder of the U.S. briefcase. Lord knows when we will get a Jon Moxley U.S. title defense. But with Kenta costing Finn Juice this match, this could potentially lead to maybe Juice versus Kenta for the briefcase. If Kenta can beat Brody King this coming Friday,
or David Finlay.
True, but typically Juice is the one that bringing that U.S. picture, and if I remember correctly, I think Juice is the one that got hit with the briefcase in this matchup here.
I think so, yeah.
I guess I was thinking there was a possibility of Dave Finlay just because I thought something had occurred between the two of them on Strong previously.
I think he challenged for the briefcase, but
he did,
but didn't win.
Right,
and because Kenta also cheated to win the briefcase to begin with.
Right, and so Finlay already had his shot at the briefcase, and obviously Juice has been off of Strong for the majority of it because of that leg injury that he had at the beginning of the pandemic.
And that's where the big boys play.
Yeah, so
don't forget that.
So
you can't even say it with a straight face.
So I think Kenta,
kayfabe, they don't know that.
Kenta and Juice could make a lot of sense here.
No, you know what? It doesn't make a lot of sense. That's the problem. It doesn't make a lot of sense. They're having to make it make sense because we don't have a fucking U.S. champion here. You know what else doesn't make sense? Why is the briefcase so broken down, but then over in America, that shit's all together. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, Kevin Kelly said on the broadcast on Super J Cup that he got a new briefcase.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about, young boy.
Okay.
I think the original broken one is actually on display in the Tokon shop in Suidobashi.
It is.
Along with Jay's torn up contract that's in Japanese. But they gave him a new one that he busted on Juice's face. So I'm wondering at some point if he's going to put tape on it like he did with the Tanahashi one, write Juice's name on it as the next person who has to pay to fix the briefcase.
We had a question here from Viking Payne. He asked, with God winning World Tag League and Ospreay's Empire being a new heel faction, is Suzuki-gun slowly transitioning into a tweener group? You know what? I'm sorry, Viking Pen. You have to excuse Karen's laughter.
I've got opinions on that question.
I guess I'll start.
Well, hold on, Karen's she's got opinions. Okay, let's hear them. Let's hear them.
We can hear. Yeah.
All right, so you can't deny the charisma and popularity of Suzuki-gun. They are beloved by the fans, but there is no top heel that can dethrone Minoru Suzuki. I'm sorry. He's the king of wrestling. It's they Ospreay and them, I feel like they're supposed to be the tweener group that, they're going to with Jeff joining them, it feels like the Empire is supposed to be kind of like LIJ where they're the tweeners where you're putting in credible popular people in a group together, but I don't see them out healing Suzuki-gun. You have Kanemaru, who is the heel master. You have Desperado. You got Taichi and Zack. They're not tweeners. They're only tweeners if they're fighting other heels, but even then, they're still the top heels.
Right. I completely agree. Suzuki-gun is the most pure heel stable in all of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And in fact, you know, the one thing I will disagree with you on there, Karen, I don't think that Empire, at least for the time being, is going to be a tweener group at all. I think that they are the new Chaos. I think they're going to facilitate the role that Chaos used to fill when they were pretty much, you know, a heel stable. Or at least that's my opinion. No one really knows because it just started, and we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, there are times where certain, like when they do heel versus heel matchups, you have different dynamics. When it's Suzuki against any other heel, he's the heel. When it's Zack Sabre Jr. or Taichi, they become the faces de facto because they're not Minoru Suzuki, and that's kind of the deal. But if it's Kanemaru, I don't care which junior he's wrestling, he's the heel. Same thing with Desperado. So yeah, they're not tweeners. Although they're beloved by the crowd, they're not even pandering to the crowd. They don't even like the crowd. They don't want your love or support. They don't care.
Yeah.
Secretly, they want the love because everybody wants to be loved, but they know they're doing their job if they're getting booed out the building.
No, the only one who secretly wants the love is Taichi because he's insecure, and it's like a big part of the complex of who he is.
He misses the "Let's go Taichi, go home Taichi" chants. I can tell you, he's missing that. The clapping doesn't cut it for him.
Yeah, so clearly, you know, obviously with GOD winning, and also they're going to be challenging the Dangerous Tekkers for the tag title, so we are going to have this kind of heel versus heel matchup. But yeah, in that matchup, I think Dangerous Tekkers will kind of facilitate the babyface role in that matchup, and also GODs, they're going to have Master Heater Jado out there. Kenta might be out there. I mean, there's Gato might be out. There's tons of Bullet Club members that could be run in. We normally don't really see Suzuki-gun members kind of run in or second guys, so yeah, Dangerous Tekkers will probably be the faces in this match, but just for that matchup, I agree with both of you guys. They are the pretty much top heel faction, you know, full-on heel faction. I guess you could argue Bullet Club, but, you know, as pure heels, I think it's Suzuki-gun, and don't see them transitioning.
Dog ear that for later, because when we get to the match review, the match recommendations, there's a time when Suzuki-gun comes together and seconds at ringside.
They used to interfere a lot in especially in Minoru Suzuki matches for a while.
I just feel like with Bullet Club being their opponents, there's going to be a lot going on in that match. It's not going to be a clean fight between, as clean as a fight can be between Dangerous Tekkers and GOD with Jado. It's going to be a lot of people, especially if the other juniors and Minoru Suzuki don't have anything to do.
Right. That's a good point.
They could do a rumble at the beginning and then be out at ringside or run into the match. So
remember that time I picked Bushi to win the Rambo?
Yeah.
That was so stupid. Let's talk about this main event.
Yeah, so our Best of the Super Junior 27 final match, we had the ticking time bomb, Hiromu Takahashi, defeating El Desperado at 30 minutes and 14 seconds. Karen, what were your thoughts on this main event?
A lot happened in that main event. As you can probably guess, I was not happy at the upstart as to who was going into the main event because it wasn't the main event I wanted, but that's fine. I, as a newer watcher of New Japan within the last couple of years, I didn't realize or know how deep the rivalry between Hiromu and Desperado went. I always thought that Hiromu and Evil were in the same Young Lion class. Evil came in the year after Hiromu. Hiromu started with Desperado, and I didn't know that. So they kept talking about this 10-year rivalry, and I was like,
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Because there was never a deep dive on that information. And had I known that their paths went much further back, I probably would have, before the match started, been more into it. And I also remember that I feel like they were setting this match up 2 years ago before Hiromu hurt his neck.
Right.
Yeah.
because he had just won Best of the Super Juniors, and one of the backstage was Desperado challenging him. And then, Hiromu got hurt, and then the next year Desperado got hurt. So I feel like they're finally plucking that booking that they've wanted to do and just thrown it in, because this year is a year they're trying to do the best they can. But that match was an absolute... I was tired watching it, especially when somebody got unmasked.
Who was that?
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah. The one... I think we were extremely accurate in our predictions of Tag League, Super Juniors, and J-Cup to come. I did get sold on the idea by Karen that Show would be here in this main event spot, but as time went on, even though he got really close, it just didn't make the most sense, just because simply it's Wrestle Kingdom. If I had stopped and thought about it for a second, thought, okay, it is Wrestle Kingdom and it's Hiromu, then it makes all, it's the easiest thing in the world. But I was kind of playing fantasy booker, and I was thinking about if it had been Dominion, different story, maybe Show could have won, but it's the Tokyo Dome. And once it came down to Hiromu and Desperado, I actually went back and listened to some of the audio from when we did our preview. And when we were talking about Desperado, if you guys go back a few weeks, me and Jeremy were talking about, I played the audio for Jeremy, and Jeremy's like, Desperado, what do you think his chances to win are? And I'm like, he has no chance to win whatsoever. And then we started talking about it, and I was like, but he's got a great chance to be the final. I was like, in fact, I think him and Hiromu will be the final. And I was like, he won't win, but in losing, they're going to have a great match, and he's going to be elevated to where he's going to be a serious player in the division going forward, to where maybe 6 months from now, maybe we could take him seriously as being an IWGP Junior Champion. And I think they really accomplished that task here. They had the really 2 years ago, after the Super Juniors, they had that match. What's the tour after Super Juniors? In June, I can't remember.
Well, it's Dominion after Super Juniors.
It's after Dominion. I don't know. They had a title match in Cork and Hall.
It's not Don Taco. Don Taco's before that, right?
That's May.
That's May. So July. I
don't know. It's right before G1. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So they had that Cork and Hall title match, 2 years ago, which was an awesome match, by the way. And in that match, remember, Desperado got his mask pulled off there. He goes to, he has the title belt. He goes to hit Hiromu with it. Hiromu ducks. Hiromu grabs the mask, pulls it off, thinking that, this luchador is going to fall to the ground, grab his face, and try to hide. And Desperado's looking down, and he just clobbers him with the fucking belt and stops and casually, and the referee's down, so there's no opportunity to pin, but he casually walks over, grabs the mask, puts it back on. And it's he cares more about inflicting damage on Hiromu and keeping him in his place in the pecking order, being that he's the senior to him, than, protecting his identity or having that, luchador honor or whatever. And that all was playing into the overall story of what was to come here in the Hiromu Desperado match. I thought this match was fantastic. I thought it was easily the best New Japan match of the weekend as well.
Yeah, I absolutely love this match. One thing that kind of hurt me a little bit going into watching this match. So I did not get to watch this show live, and had a pretty busy weekend, so I was kind of behind on watching some stuff. So I was watching. Yeah, so in our group chats, we try to be good with not giving spoilers, especially for New Japan. I mean, Josh and I kind of lay the law down there, no spoilers, guys. And so, but we did have a lot of people, sending in screenshots of cage match and grapple ratings of, 4.75 and 5 and, 9.8. I'm like, oh, wow, this match must be,
It's going to be the greatest junior match of all time.
Yeah. So then I started watching the match. I think I was watching it on Saturday morning. I started watching the match, and it's going, and it's a good match. I'm like, okay, this is typical Desperado Hiromu match. It's going good. Despy's working the knee like usual, working the back, cheating, and I was like, so far this is a good match, but I don't get why people are losing their minds over this match. And then And then the mask gets ripped. Despy pulls the mask off. The clap crowd gasps. And then they just go to war. They're chopping the crap out of each other. And the match just went on another level. That last 10-minute stretch was absolutely incredible. I loved it. I couldn't quite go the full 5 stars on it. I was a coward. I went 4.75. But yeah, I absolutely love this main event. It was a great way to kind of cap off this tournament that's kind of, not been what we're normally used to as it comes to quality in Super Juniors. And I thought this was a great way to close off this tournament, close off this tour. And like you mentioned, there's just so many storyline elements between these guys, and we saw that all just kind of spill out here. And it was something like we also mentioned too last week, where we were like, the match that Despy and Hiromu had early in this tournament was pretty short, and it was a good match, but also wasn't epic. And also they were saving that for this match. They were saving stuff for this match to make this the epic kind of big finale. Hiromu was able to get his revenge on Despy from that earlier match, and from losing so many times in the junior tag picture with Bushi against him and Kanemaru. Got the win here, had to bust out the time bomb too, and was able to finally defeat El Desperado.
One of the things I loved about him unmasking himself was that, to go back to the match that Josh was talking about, is that when Hiromu took his mask off last time, he took the mask, and he used to have long hair.
Yeah.
So he unceremoniously throws his hair back, puts the mask on. This time around, he cut all his hair off. So when Hiromu pulled the mask off, everyone's just like, where's his hair? His hair's gone. Why is his hair gone? So it was one of those things where it had more impact, because up until very recently, he still had his hair. So they were a lot of people were wondering, what does this mean for him moving forward?
Yeah. Well, back 2 years ago during that fantastic Super Juniors, there was also the emerging feud between him and Dragon Lee at the time. And there was a lot of allusions to the idea that they might have a mask versus mask match. Are they gonna, take the the mask off of him and eventually turn him into, what's his name? Mizami? I forget.
Mikami.
The funny thing is, I was watching this with my girlfriend, right? And she, for whatever reason, some guys just register for her and some guys just don't. Desperado has been a guy that just never does. And she's always like, who is this guy? And I'm always like, it's Desperado. You've seen him a million times. And then she's like, I know the one guy with the mask. I'm like, that's Bushi. She's like, yeah. She never remembers Desperado. Then his mask got torn off. She's like, wait, what? He's gorgeous?
That's the rule of the mask man. It has to contain the handsome.
And I was like, yeah.
Bandito, Dragon Lee, all of them. They're too gorgeous. They got to hide some of it so they don't outshine everybody else.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, he's gorgeous. You didn't know that? And I was like, I'm pretty sure I've told you. She's like, no, I didn't know. She's like, why is he wearing a mask? This is stupid. But this match, I had a similar experience to you, Jeremy, where I saw the ratings beforehand, so I'm watching it, and I was just like, it's a really good match, but it's not anything great. And I didn't think it was trending to be a classic. But those last 5 to 10 minutes, whatever it was, are just so high level and so emotional. It is really fighting spirit, personified. Hiromu is kind of this generation's modern day Tiger Mask. And Tiger Mask had, obviously Dynamite Kid was the famous, feud, but there were other guys Kuniaki Kobayashi and stuff like that. He had other rivals that don't get as much, prestige or attention. And I kind of think the Desperado feud is sort of becoming the same way for Hiromu, where it's he might have his Dragon Lee over here, but he's also got Desperado right here, which is pretty awesome. I think we've already found one of our first quote unquote moments of the year in New Japan with this unmasking. It was something I'm gonna remember for a long time, probably be talking about for a while too.
Yeah, it's a great moment. In a way, it kind of reminded me of like a Keishan Liger moment where like the mask gets ripped and Keishan Liger's underneath and is ready to go to war. That's kind of the feeling I got. Like the mask came off and it's like, all right, Despy, he's ready to go to war. He's ready, and then like that last 10 minutes, like because that was like about the 20-minute call when that happened. And then the last 10 minutes was absolutely incredible.
They stole that shit from him.
That's literally the notes I wrote down, is that it's a Keishan Liger sort of thing where it's just so much to take in all at one time.
That's awesome.
And just so many great like near falls and submission. Also, Hiromu, he's pulling a page out of Dragon Lee's book where they kind of tap the mat because as they're trying to crawl to the ropes, and you're like, I don't know.
That was pretty questionable.
And even Red Shoes was like, are you tapping? Are you?
That's what I do too. I do fake taps to get people to let go on the holds.
And so the closely submissions there with the numero dos, and then even I think there was a Pinche Loco near fall towards the end there too, which was.
So is the stretch muffler, is that the numero dos?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I never know what to call that. I'm like, I don't know. He's got him in the Brock lock.
I think it's difficult because Japanese commentary tends to use the numero dos, and then I often hear Kevin Kelly use both of them interchangeably, so it gets a little confusing. I don't know if the stretch muffler, if one has like one less arm involved, or
well, technically anytime you have the leg draped over the neck like that, that's a stretch muffler, period. And so the numero
so how do you parlay that into the numero dos? What is added, or what limb is taken into?
It's him grabbing both arms as the full extension of the move, so that's his variation of a stretch muffler. But because I didn't know, I've never heard. I guess I just keep not hearing it, so I'm like, what the fuck is the name of this move? Like, I don't know what to call it.
I know. I pay attention because like we keep forget. I keep not knowing what it was called for weeks now. So finally, I heard Kevin and them calling numero dos. I'm like, all right, finally, I know the name of this. What he calls it.
I'm not a names guy. I don't know if you ask me the majority of the roster's like finishing move name, I don't know. And I've been watching for years.
See, and I am a names guy, and so it was like killing me that I didn't know the name of what he was calling.
I'm like, I don't know. He's got him in a Brock lock.
So we do have some questions here about this match. First one, we're going to use a Rambo and Slam Pig. His Desperado vs. Hiromu was pure fire, and I loved every second of it. Do you think Despy sinks back down into junior tag title mid-card status, or is he made as a relevant junior heavyweight main event standout? Is he following Lucha rules regarding discarding his mask?
Well, I'll start. I don't think it applies to Japanese. It's not quite the same thing. I mean, Liger's been unmasked multiple times. So has Tiger Mask, and those are probably the two most relevant and big names in Japanese wrestling when it comes to masks, and it's never been really a big deal. So no, I mean, it's not the same cultural sort of thing as like, the whole Lucha Libre tradition. I don't think Despy is sinking back down to junior tag title mid-card status, because headlining the Super Juniors is a really big deal. And I think that he had a showing and a performance that was so big that I think they're going to see potential in him down the line to continue to draw money, especially with Hiromu, maybe others, but definitely with Hiromu. So I don't know if he's going to win the title or anything like that for sure, but I definitely think he's going to be headlining other shows down the road.
I don't think it hurts him either. I think as the junior heavyweight tag champion right now, he's kind of stuck having to shoulder both of those belts. Well, I mean, now that Kanemaru is back, but we'll get to that later. I would like to see some baby faces hold that belt for a little while before it gets put onto another heel wrestler, because I don't see him dropping the mask and joining like Hontai or defecting to Chaos and switching up his entire character. I think to go back to the Keishan Liger comment, I think the mask would come off in high stakes matches like the final was. I don't see him unmasking permanently, but I do see him taking it off when it prevents him from doing his job.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's ripped and it's flapping all over the place, I mean, it makes more sense just to toss it off and just go to work, as it were, and be mad about it because, you know, getting those made aren't cheap.
Right. Yeah, every time I see a luchador's mask gets ripped, I'm like, I hope that guy's gonna buy you a new mask, because I know those things are super expensive. Like Pentagon and Phoenix are like famous for it. Like they rip each other's masks like all the time.
Yeah, but they sell them anyway, so they make the money back.
They got that Tony Khan money, bro.
But yeah, obviously we've seen Despy, you know, not care about the mask in the past. So obviously that like you mentioned, Josh, that lucha kind of tradition doesn't really hold with the Japanese masked wrestlers.
You notice he also came out in the all white, which
yes,
harkens back to his debut when he first came in as El Desperado, and he was a face character, and there was a little bit of like once I saw that, I was like, I mean, he's done that before, but I think the last time he did it was in the Super Juniors 2 years ago, when they were like clearly building stuff up between him and Hiromu and him and Dragon Lee.
Yeah.
He and Bushi both tend to wear white when it's a very important match.
Well, I think all wrestlers do.
Yeah, that's like a pro wrestling trope. You know, the big, you know, WrestleMania match or your first title match. A lot of wrestlers will either bust out the white boots or like the all white gear.
Rhea Ripley came out in the white this year and
Yeah.
lost. The thing with him though that's significant is that like it's more reminiscent to his original attire,
right?
You know, which he doesn't really wear anymore.
Yeah, and I think that this is a starting of him kind of being more of a player in the singles role in the junior division. Also, with the lack of junior tag teams, I mean, he'll always be a player there as long as Kanemaru is active with Suzuki-gun. But yeah, I definitely think down the line we will see more Desperado, maybe more junior challenges, maybe potentially even a junior title run at some point in the future.
Maybe Despy-gun, I don't know, you know.
Next question here from Reddit user Viking Pain. It says that Hiromu match was a star-making one for Despy. What does he do from here? Junior title run, moving up to heavyweights.
He should not move up to heavyweight.
Correct.
He's got the size to do it, but not enough of a size or a physique to do it and really have great success yet. So yeah, I think the junior title is the next thing for him. I'm not saying he wins it right away, but I definitely think he needs to be in contention for it and be one of the main guys, so that, you know, next year when we're doing a Super Juniors, we're not talking about like, oh, they got Despy in here. It's like, no, they got fucking Desperado. It's awesome, you know?
Mm-hmm. One of the things I'd like to see him do is kind of like, you know, what, if I'm not mistaken, he did it last year against Shingo, is that fight open weight. Let the juniors fight the heavyweights.
Yeah, he challenged Shingo this year.
Yeah. Oh, it was this year.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I don't think he needs to move up to heavyweight. I'd rather he not, because they're the options in the junior division are rather slim as it is. But I would like to see more juniors fighting open weight.
Yeah, he's definitely needed as a player in the junior division. I think, you know, if Hiromu leaves January 5th with the junior title, if he makes it January 5th and wins the junior title, I think you could definitely run back this Hiromu Despy match at one of these big shows, maybe New Beginning or one of the bigger shows later on in the year. Heck, maybe even another, you know, Super Junior big match if we get a Super Juniors in April. I definitely think, there is, you know, money to be made with Desperado kind of as a top heel in that division. And yeah, I would also love for him to do more open weight stuff, especially if you have an open weight champion like Shingo, who just recently came out of the junior division. It's not like super huge. It could be realistic that Despy could pull one over on somebody like a Shingo.
Well, they've had multiple people in the past challenge for like the open weight title, but the only real junior that's held it successfully was Will Ospreay. And if I'm looking at the current roster of guys, the only two currently that I can think like have the frame for it and believability, Desperado is one of them, maybe a little less so, and then Hiromu's the other. So that is a possibility that they could go for the Never title. I hadn't thought of that, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah. Next question here from our user Grunty Dodd. This is last week you had the Best of Super Junior tournament as a whole as a C-. Assuming you love the finals as much as everyone else, is a great finale enough to bump that mark up to a C?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is now firmly a C.
I don't know. I think I would go C+.
No. It was a bad tournament.
What do you think, Karen?
With a fantastic finish.
I think, I'd give it a B- with an asterisk because they made the most of with what they had.
Okay.
Because two of their most popular juniors were out injured. Kanemaru wasn't there. Yo wasn't there. Also, Tiger Mask was out as well. They couldn't bring very many people over from abroad. The field was significantly smaller. So, yeah, it might not have been what we're used to, but given the time they had, the people they had, it was pretty good. Was it like blow the doors off the car great? Some matches were, but as a whole, I don't think it was a C.
To be fair, I'm grading on a down curve. Was it good? It was good. In terms of was the wrestling good? It's good. But it's also to me, it's it's the Super Juniors and it's New Japan. So I kind of gave it a little bit of a down grade just because in comparison to what we're used to from Super Juniors. But right. I agree with everything that
I gave it the COVID upgrade.
I could be inclined to go as high as C+. Like our grades carry any weight.
Right. A question here from our user Germanus said, should El Desperado keep his mask off? It got a big reaction, but Christmas wouldn't be special if you had it every day.
I think there are positives and minuses to wrestling with a mask, and there might be a time where he wrestles without the mask, and maybe later he puts it back on. I mean, we've seen this happen before with other superstars. Kendo Kashin comes to mind, so does Super Strong Machine, different people like that. So, I think whatever makes him the most money and draws the most attention, that's what matters most.
What do you think, Karen?
Oh, well, one of the things that is unique about Desperado is that he's one of the handful of masked men that they have in New Japan. And his masks are beautiful and wildly popular. As much as I would like to see him wrestle unmasked because, as Josh's girlfriend said, he's a very handsome man. I think part of his mystique, without, if he's going to stay as El Desperado, is the mask. So I could see him, maybe he does kind of like when he did that death match where he does like the half mask or he does, something different with it. I don't know. But I think he'll take it off when he's ready to take it off permanently. But I think he's probably going to keep it on just a bit longer.
Yeah, I feel like this Desperado character is just so established, and I still think there's more to kind of get out of that character. And so, yeah, I can continue to see him wearing the mask. Kind of like we mentioned, maybe in big matches, it gets ripped, and then he just rips it off because he doesn't care. And who knows, maybe down the line you could do something with him without the mask. But I think for the foreseeable future, he will continue with the mask.
You guys want to hear something? Great Khan's shirt has been a top 10 seller for the past 6 weeks. His towel sold out in mere hours. So, this guy's a charisma black hole. He's going to fail,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what all the dirt sheets are saying.
No, it's just one man. His name is David Meltzer. That's his name.
I don't know him. Sorry.
So one thing we got to do, we got to give our final grades for all the participants in Best of Super Juniors and World Tag League. So we can kind of go through this real quickly and kind of give our grades for each of the competitors, each of the teams that were in this tournament. So we'll start off with Best of Super Juniors, and we'll start off with Desperado. Karen, what's your grade?
Solid B. Because there are some matches where I felt like he kind of phoned it in.
I 100% agree. I'm going to go solid B.
I will also go with a B. Then we have Hiromu Takahashi.
I mean, he won it, so I guess he's our A.
I will also go A. I think he was the MVP of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the recommended matches from this tournament, Hiromu is in the majority of them and never phoned it in. It was in several main and semi-main events. So, yeah, I'm going A for the Ticking Time Bomb. Then next up, we have the current IWGP Junior Champion, Taiji Ishimori.
I'm going to give him a B+. Oh, only because, and I think this is not his fault, but as the champion, he should have had a lot more main event matches. Hiromu should not have had, as a non-champion, all the number of main event matches that he did. Master Wato should not have had as many main event matches or upper card matches as he did. But Ishimori did bring... No, you know what? I'm not even A-, because he did bring out a lot, especially with Uemura.
That Uemura match was awesome.
His match with Robbie was really, really good, and his match with Sho was really, really good.
I'm going C+ on Ishimori.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was also thinking C+. The
heart wants what the heart wants, guys. I'm sorry.
I thought Ishimori wrestled. I agree with everything you said, Karen, but I also think that when he was given those spots on the undercard, he wrestled like it. I think he phoned it in for most of the tournament. The performances that you mentioned did stand out, but for the majority of it, I mean, there's a lot of matches should have been better. The Show match should have been a lot better, you know? It wasn't for whatever reason, and I don't blame Show. There's a lot of matches that just should have been a lot better.
Yeah, I felt like he kind of slept-walked his way through this tournament.
That's what I felt like. I felt like he was pouty-faced because they were pushing Hiromu.
Well, one thing I noticed was that when he beat Sho on the last night, even though he won, he didn't look happy about it. Mm-hmm. Because he knew that neither him nor Sho were going to the finals.
So speaking of Sho, that's the next person that needs a grade.
I'm not going first on this one. You guys go first.
With Sho. Okay. With Sho, I'm going to go... I will go, I'll go solid B as well. I think he trended higher than Desperado, so I could even maybe go B+. But I didn't think it was quite enough to do an A, but I thought he had a really great tournament. I thought it was a more consistent tournament than any of the tournaments he's had before, but it didn't peak as high as some of his previous tournaments where he had the Shingo match or the Dragon Lee match.
Kushida match.
Yeah, some really high level matches, but he had really good matches all throughout the tournament. So I don't know, B+, probably B.
Yeah, I'm going B+. I thought Sho was definitely one of the standouts here in this tournament, and just with Roppongi 3K, seemingly like it's on death's door. I thought this was kind of a great tournament for him in the singles role, and kind of the start of him becoming, a junior star. And I thought, he had a lot of very good matches. So B+.
I'm going to give him a B+. Well, as you guys know, I wanted him to win. And there were certain matches of his that were absolutely amazing. But it's like what we talked about after we went off the air last time, is that there's certain X factors that shouldn't factor into him winning. Especially because they're not related to wrestling. They're related to his personal life. But what I loved about it was that since last year's Best of the Super Juniors, it's been a slow burn, but he's building momentum and people are taking notice of him. And I think I listened to Tanahashi's podcast earlier this week, and Tanahashi basically said he's one step away from it.
Yeah.
He's on the precipice of getting to be called the Junior Ace. And I think next year might be his year.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I think next year could definitely be Sho's year.
All right, let's talk about Bushi.
Oh.
So I'll just start off. Bushi, I'm going C, flat C. Nothing was great. Nothing was really terrible. This is the most mid wrestler of all time.
Yeah, going C as well. Like we've been saying for these last couple of weeks, His matches are fine. He's the definition of the gentleman's three, the good little hand. Goes out there, has a good. It's a good professional wrestling match, but also nothing was blow away or great. So yeah, flat C.
I don't think he had a single standout match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I think
maybe the Hiromu
problem
match.
I think he's resigned. He was resigned from the very beginning that he knew he wasn't going to win it. So he was like, you know what? I'll go in, I'll do my job, I'll do it well, and then I'll walk out. The Hiromu match was really good though.
Yeah. You're going C also, Karen?
Yeah, solid C.
So now the way to the Grand Master, Master Wato.
This is a tough one. I guess I'll throw it to you guys. I'm somewhere between like B- and C+. There were some times where he was good. There was a lot of times where he's bad. It was really inconsistent. I don't really know how to rate this crap.
I think I'm going C+. The beginning of his tournament was pretty rough. There was a lot of sloppy spots, botches, some dangerous botches, especially in that Robbie Eagles match, dropping Robbie on his head. But then kind of in the midpoint of the tournament, things kind of turned around. He started having some better performances, so I'll go C+.
I'm going to give him a C-. I try to appreciate his matches. They just don't do anything for me. And I am a little salty that he pinned Desperado, so at some point he's going to find a tag partner and challenge for those belts.
Taguchi.
But but I don't know, he's missing an X factor, and I don't know why they were pushing him so hard in this tournament, because in previous years Sho and Yo never got to 8 points. I think last year they were at 6, if that. So I don't understand if Wato's success was because of him as a wrestler or because Tenzan was his second.
I just think it's a young lion coming back from excursion.
Yeah.
They want to give him something. Before his tournament, he really didn't have any breakout stuff. I mean, he had the small little Suzuki-gun feud with Doki and Kanemaru, and then G1 happened. So I feel like they were kind of hoping that this would kind of maybe be the breakout, coming out party for him, and I don't think it was what they were expecting.
He's the Shuyaku.
He is not the Shuyaku.
Next we got Robbie Eagles. Robbie, I thought, was fantastic in this tournament. I didn't think he was given as many top opportunities as I'd liked or hoped, but I thought he maximized what was given to him. I'd probably just go B.
Same.
I think I'd go B+. I thought, again, he was towards the upper echelon of performers in this tournament, even though he didn't have...
He got his ass beat.
He did, but he didn't have many main events, but I thought he's the one guy that was definitely performed, whether he was in the middle of the card or towards the end of the card, he was performed. He didn't mail it in. He gave great performances every night.
He did, but there's a difference between the kind of performance he put in and then someone else we're going to talk about. So I got to go B because he wasn't on this level, this I can't go back level.
So next up, the coach, Ryusuke Taguchi.
C-. I thought this, Taguchi's worst Super Juniors in a decade. He's usually this, sleeper banger. I know he always has comedy in his matches, so I don't fault him for that, but not only was it comedy, but it was also ass-based comedy where, I don't really want to see his butt that often. And it just kind of became the one running gag story of the whole tournament. Plus, he lost, every match. Plus, we never really did see big match Taguchi show up like we're used to. He usually has, one or two sleeper hits throughout the tournament. And that just kind of, I don't know, I guess you could count the Hiromu match. But for the most part, he just kind of didn't do that. And maybe we're at the end of big match Taguchi. That might be done. So, yeah. I don't know. What did I say? C-?
Yeah.
Yeah, C-.
Where are you going, Karen?
I'm going to give him a solid C. Even though it seemed like he was kind of resigned to losing a lot, he did put over people I didn't expect. Sho finally getting a win over Taguchi was a very big deal because he never had one. I could have done, again, less with seeing his backside. I know that's his shtick, but it kind of made it seem like he didn't care about the tournament at all. Like he's supposed to be a sleeper, dark horse, and I don't feel like he ever really showed up. Like he showed up physically, but I don't think he was out I can't name a single match of his that I'm like, this was a match I have to watch again.
Yeah.
He was very forgettable this time around.
And I'm wondering with Taguchi, so much of what he does relies on crowd interaction and crowd response. So I'm wondering if he was just kind of like, I'm just going to kind of goof off because I'm not going to really kind of get the reaction that I want. Or maybe it just kind of fell flat because he couldn't get that reaction. Yeah. And he was just doing it every night. I'm also going to go C-. I could be even tempted to go D.
Thought about it.
Like I was saying last week, too much ass-based offense.
This is the second week you've used ass-based offense as like a, as a terminology, and you said it with full seriousness both times.
An actual assassin.
Yes. I'll go C- for the coach here.
All right, so let's talk about Doki. I am going B+ on Doki. You know why? Because this man wrestles like, I'm not going back.
Yes.
I cannot go back. There's no other direction other than forward because failure is not an option. This man fights like his entire career is on the line every single night.
He cannot go back to those grimy indies in Mexico. He cannot go back to the mud holes he was wrestling in. I'm also going B+ for Doki. Incredible performance throughout the tournament. If you average out the star ratings, he's up towards the top. Gave it his all every night, despite losing a majority of his matches. B+.
I would be inclined to agree. I did enjoy Doki, and I'm glad that this year he wasn't a substitute for someone.
Well, he was.
Oh, was he?
Well,
for Kanemaru? I thought he was last year.
For Ryu Lee, most likely.
Well, technically, he was. Technically, in kayfabe, he was not a replacement because Ryu Lee was never announced. But it was reported that Ryu Lee was in Japan, had to go back, and that the reports are that Doki replaced Ryu Lee.
This man Doki wasn't even going to be in the tournament, and he's like, I'm not going back.
I will do whatever it takes. Yeah. No, I actually have taken a shine to Doki. For a while, I was like, I don't know, but I don't know. Something about Suzuki-gun this year. They're piquing my interest. Probably because they're fighting as if their entire career depends on it.
Yeah, nothing about Doki screams tweener. This man carries a metal pipe to the...
And I love, if the English commentary, Gino has donned his chokehold, the Doki Choki? Or the choke?
Doki Choki.
Yeah, the Doki Choki. I mean, it's a double armbar, but okay.
And then last but not least, Young Lion, Yuya Uemura.
I'm going solid B. I think that he did as well as he could have possibly been expected to do in the spots that they gave him with the opportunities that they gave him. And I thought he excelled.
I'm going to also go with a B. This boy is going to be a star one day. Hands down.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm going to go with B. A lot of great performances for Yuya Uemura. It's a real standout, a lot of fire. He's in a similar spot to like Ren Narita was in last year's Best of Super Junior, really given this opportunity. In a way, it kind of reminds me of the trial series that they were doing with Kitamura before he left New Japan, and he was getting those kind of series of big singles matches. And so that's kind of what it was here for Uemura. He got a chance to kind of mix it up with some of these guys and gain a ton of experience that he probably wouldn't have gotten if he was not in the tournament at all. So great work there by Yuya Uemura. So now we will move on to grading the teams in the World Tag League. So we'll start with The runner-ups here in Finn Juice Robinson, and David Finlay. What are you giving them, Karen?
Well, I mean, they are the runners up. I give them a solid B+. I was kind of upset that they released a shirt that said Moikai Moipai, which means one more time we're gonna win again, and then they didn't win. So I always get mad about those merch grab shirts where I'm just like, oh my gosh, they could do it back to back. No.
They're finessing out here.
Y2AJ.
One of the things I did miss this year compared to last year is that I like it when they wear matching gear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last year they were very matchy, and it made them feel like a cohesive tag team. This year, which is why I gave them a B. I don't feel like they were as cohesive as they've been previously, which was weird.
Juice was like, nah, I'm wearing this Blues Brothers stuff.
I'm wearing my G1 gear, and you're gonna deal with it.
Sorry, brother. This is the only gear I packed. Sorry.
What rating did Karen give him?
B.
I will. I'm gonna go. You know what? That sounds fair. I will go B on the World Tag League scale.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear. We're grading on the World Tag League scale. It's a different scale.
I'll go B also. I do think they were one of the toward the top as far as performers in this tournament. So next up, the winners, the World Tag League winners, Girls of Destiny, Tama Tonga Tangaloa.
I'll go solid C+. I thought that they were fine through and through.
Karen?
I'm gonna give them a B-.
I knew it.
Because I liked.
It's because she likes Tama.
That's because I like Tama. Thanks. No, I liked that they came in with a grittier attitude that they hadn't had in a while, and I felt like they were like, comparing it to them on New Japan Strong, I felt that they were more focused this time around and more out for blood. And I did like going back to the matching gear. I liked that there were times where they were from head to toe, they were matchy.
Yes.
Because they looked not just like, because they're brothers, but they looked like a proper tag team.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to go C+. I like Tama also. Bought me a beer in New York, but I'm going to have to go C+ here. I mean, there's a lot of matches where there was this ton of cheating, ton of interference, and that kind of brought some of their matches down. But overall, I mean, they were a solid team, solid performance.
Although I agree with all the points that she almost sold me on a B-. I'm almost there.
I'm a great negotiator.
The current IWGP Tag Champs, Dangerous Tekkers, Tai Chi and Zack Sabre Jr.
I will go B+. I thought they trended just a bit higher than Juice and Finlay. Makes sense because I think that they were probably the tag team of the year last year. I do think this is the first year that they are not the MVPs of the World Tag League. In the last 2 years, I thought they were. This year, I think they got edged out, but I thought they still had a very strong, solid, tournament.
I'll also give them a B+. I found it interesting that in both tournaments, neither champion made it to the finals. They got edged out when it came to wins and losses. I try to like Tai Chi and Zach. I try, but they're not my cup. But
I love them.
I get why people like them. But yeah,
they
were consistent and they were consistently good. So.
Yeah, I'm also going to go B+. I'm a big fan of the Dangerous Tekkers also, and I thought they were very versatile in this tournament. There's a lot of matches where they kind of had to play that babyface role, and they would have to get the heat on Zach and get the hot tags to Tai Chi, and then there was times where they were the dastardly heels and getting the heat on the babyfaces, and consistently having very good to great matches. Also, they were highlighted in a lot of main events and semi-main because they were the champions. So yeah, B+.
I give him a B for the in-ring work. I give him the plus for the backstage promos. Next team we got is Shingo Takagi and Sonata. I'll start us off. I'm giving them only a B+ as well. So I didn't think any team deserved an A, to be honest with you. I didn't think anyone was consistent enough to be like, you're at that level. But this is my MVP of the entire tournament. I thought they had the best matches throughout the tournament, just through and through. and yeah, just really good team.
I'm going to give them an A-, and hear me out, because even when they lost, they never looked weak. Like all their losses made sense. One person wasn't the designated, you're going to eat the pin, you're going to deal with it, you're going to be fine with it. I found them to be a very balanced tag team for it being their first time properly tagging since, the era of Sana Evil. So,
Right.
And storytelling in the ring and their backstage promos, or Sonata's lack of backstage promos, it left me wanting more. And in World Tag League, there weren't many matches, or unfortunately many of these pairings that gave me that feeling.
Yeah, you made a great case there. You could talk me into the A-, but I think I'm also going to go B+. Definitely agree with you, Josh, that they were the MVPs of the tournament. I thought they gelled together very well. And Shingo's a guy we talked about. He's a guy that's going to give it his all, regardless of what type of match it is, what place in the card it is. And I thought his energy helped elevate Sonata, and Sonata kind of fed off of his energy. And improved his performances in this tournament. So, yeah, B+. So, the next up, Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano.
I will go, I'm going to go B- with them.
Why?
I've spent so much time talking about them throughout the year. It's Ishii and Yano. They were good. B-.
I was gonna go with a C+. I find their dynamic fascinating, because it's probably the most colorful character within Chaos, with the most serious character in Chaos. But
they never play off of it in any way. It just
Correct.
happens to exist.
It's like it's kind of like Mega Aces. You got two great wrestlers that are just together. Like I don't feel like there was enough cohesion with them.
Normally, they actually usually have really great tournaments. This time, I thought they just had an average tournament with a few really good matches. I didn't think they did enough to deserve a B, but I didn't think they were bad enough to deserve a C. So I think that's why I went B-. That's my whole thinking.
I'm with Karen here. I'm going to go with C+. I thought, honestly, when Ishii was in there, Ishii was great, but I do feel like Yano was maybe more on the downside when he was in there. It was also, I know his shtick, but I definitely think like their matches were more goofy than they typically are in previous World Tag Leagues. Like you mentioned, normally they're like one of the serious contenders.
They're one of the best teams in the tournament usually.
They're former IWGP Tag Team champions.
How?
I was expecting a little bit more from them. So yeah, C+.
I think the hard part is that I felt like their tag team was eclipsed by Yano's campaign for King of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
And his David Starr length intro.
Yeah.
It used to be cute when he had just the DVD to sell, or just the Noborivetsu tourism ambassador. But his intro is now so long that I'm just like, get on with it.
This man's getting all the gimmicks out here.
And Ishii's just like, all right, I was ready to fight 5 minutes ago. Why are we still doing this?
Right.
All right, fine. C+. You guys
No, you don't have to change your mind.
No, it's fine. C+. You guys talk me into it. Whatever. Fine. I'm stupid. You guys are smart. Whatever.
Nobody said you're stupid.
The next team and the other Chaos team of Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi.
I guess I'll start us off. How about this one? B-. Because I thought they were a little bit better than Ishii and Yano.
Yeah, I'm gonna go flat B. Once again, Yoshihashi's on this, this end of this year, he's been on this campaign to be better and to, keep getting back up and keep fighting. And, we saw his great G1, this never 6-man title run that they've been having with Goto and Ishii. And, I thought both of them looked really well together, worked well as a team. And, we're solid. So flat B.
I too would give them a flat B. I feel like both of them, these are, well, Goto is getting back to the Goto that I always heard about, but as a newer fan, haven't really seen much of. And then, as you said with Yoshihashi's on this, I want to be G1 Yoshihashi winning all the things all the time, and I'm here for it. He's fired up. I think they've put more thought into their tag moves together. Like there was a lot, they started doing a lot of their moves or combining their moves to make it feel very cohesive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I feel bad for Ishii because he's kind of like the odd man out even in their little trio.
Yeah.
Something really big happened on Impact just now with Kenny and them. I don't know. I'm trying to find out what it is. It might even be like New Japan related. I don't know. I'm trying to see.
So the next team, the Empire team of Great Okan and Jeff Cobb.
For them, I'm gonna go B. I'm not quite B+, but I thought they were fantastic throughout the tournament. I thought they worked a different style than everybody else. I thought they were a breath of fresh air, and they got over, especially Okan, much to the contrary to what you might hear from some certain wrestling raiders and journalists who saw him twice over the past, few months and formed an opinion, and that's the narrative that's being spun. This man Okan's going to be a star, and so is Jeff Cobb, so.
I'm going to give them a solid B. I love that this year Jeff Cobb, compared to his previous World Tag Leagues, this is probably my favorite. Largely because in his role as the Hatchet, he's showing more personality and less comedy. I mean, I love cuddly comedy Jeff Cobb, but this like grittier Jeff Cobb, I'm really like all in on. And yeah, it made me pay attention to Okarn a little bit more, because at the offset of his return, like his time before he went on excursion was a time I wasn't watching. I hadn't started watching New Japan just yet, so I wasn't familiar with him. So this gave me an opportunity to pay more attention to his wrestling, and so solid B.
Yeah, I'm also going to go a solid B. Like I've said the last couple of weeks, I definitely enjoy Jeff Cobb in this heel role. Definitely feel like it suits him better. He's been having better performances, and I thought him and Okan gelled really well together, with this also being the first time they're teaming. And like you mentioned, Josh, it's a different style than everybody else. It definitely kind of stood out to me. Also, they didn't really have any like blow-away great matches, so that's why I kind of have them in that B range. So next,
I found Josh's nugget of what he wanted to know.
All right.
On Impact.
I found out what it is. It's not New Japan related. People in
It's not New Japan related.
No, people in our Discord were like, Bullet Club, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Bullet Club did some shit, and I'm never mind. It's not Bullet Club. This is bullshit. although it does sound exciting.
It's interesting, that's for sure.
It sounds exciting. I'm gonna go watch it when we get done with the show. But
well, speaking of Bullet Club, that's the next two teams. First, the Bullet Club team of Bad Luck Fale and the Crown Jewel, Chase Owens.
I don't know, C+. Like, I don't
nah,
know,
man,
C.
they're getting a D.
Really, that bad? They're fine. They were just like in opening matches doing comedy shit, and then talk about stopping the count. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're fine.
Where are you going, Karen?
I thought Fale.
C-. They showed up. They did their job. They left.
Yeah, C- is fine.
There's nothing particularly outstanding about any.
Fale wasn't as bad as he normally is. Chase
he looks great. He lost
looks
a lot of weight.
great.
He looks really great.
Chase wasn't as good as he usually is. He looks worse than he used to. So it kind of evens out. C- is fine.
Fine, I'll C-, whatever.
They're doing the best they can.
We've seen some truly horrendous Fale teams in the past that were way worse than this.
That's true. So the other Bullet Club team, Evil and Yujiro Takahashi.
C. They're fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of cheating this up.
I did like Yujiro pulling that fast one on Chase by saying that Peter was here.
Yes, that was hilarious.
Again, because she's the real leader of Bullet Club. But
she's
yeah,
the
there wasn't
one.
anything particularly outstanding about their matches. They were very formulaic, lots of Dick Togo.
Yeah. Then last but not least, Hinares, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Toa Hinare.
I'll go B-. I could even go C+. I don't know. I'm somewhere between there on them.
I think I'm flat B on them.
I will not go any lower than a flat B on principle.
I mean, I thought they were great. I mean, like, they put in good work, but I just didn't think they were given as many opportunities to be great. I mean, they had the really, really good match with LIJ. That kind of stands out. I thought the thing is, Tanahashi was kind of just MIA most of the time. Like, Hinare was shouldering almost all the work, and he looked awesome, but he was also eating most of the falls. Like, I don't even know Tanahashi should have even been in this. They probably didn't want him to be in it. He probably just was like, I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to tag in very often.
It's one of those things where it's tricky because Tanahashi's at the age where, you know, he's been doing this for 20 plus years of his life, and age and wear are starting to show, and he's doing the best he can. I think he's now in that position where he needs to think beyond himself and start thinking about the future of the company. So tagging with someone like Hinare, people will be like, why is he doing that? But by doing that, he's elevating Hinare.
It's true.
And even though Hinare, you know, ate most of the pins, if not all of them, I think it was a good learning opportunity for him, because from this point, this could be Hinare's launching point.
That's all true. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's also the fact that Tanahashi probably feels like, well, there's not enough star power on this tour. We're, you know, in a downturn. I need to be on there.
Right.
That makes sense.
It probably wasn't necessarily his choice either, because if he wasn't on it, considering that they didn't have Okada or Ospreay or Jay or Ibushi, I think had Tanahashi not been on it, there would have been a lot of pushback, especially from the fans.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're the ones buying the tickets to keep the lights on at the moment right now.
You're right.
But here's the other thing. I think he wants to be on them. Like,
yeah.
And
he's a workaholic,
yeah.
like Naito. They're gonna be taping their bodies together,
but
just to get down there.
But here's my gripe with it. This is not anything out of the ordinary for Tanahashi. This is like a decade's worth of tag leagues where he's never going to win them, but he comes out here with a partner, and this is just what happens. It's like whoever's teaming with Tanahashi in the tag league, it's kind of a blessing, but also a curse. It's like the kiss of death. Like, you're going to eat a shit ton of falls because you're not going far, because it's not a real tag team.
Right.
You know, so that's sort of my thing. It's like, I kind of know what to expect with a Tanahashi tag league. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with it because the Tokyo Dome is right around the corner. So it's just them's be the breaks.
It's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way that they were going to be able to set up Okan's match.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That they definitely wanted to do that angle of Okan towards the beginning and then also towards the end of the tour. So yeah, they needed the ace on there.
But I said all that to say this. It's hard for me to praise a team that Tanahashi has during Tag League when I know what the deal is. You know, and it kind of kills a lot of the anticipation. It's like, oh, it's going to be at the bottom of the block. They're going to eat a lot of losses. And Tanahashi will do very little because, you know, the dome's around the corner.
Right. Well, now it's time to transition over to the Super J Cup.
Live, Jeremy. The live Super J Cup. They made liars out of us.
They did a lot of people. They made liars out of. Two questions real quick before we jump into the action. First one, Viking Pain says, I know that the English isn't his first language, but my God, Alex Kozlov is bad. He's not funny or witty like Gino or knowledgeable like Rocky. He's just bad. What are your thoughts on Kozlov?
Ditto. I pretty much agree 100%. I thought maybe as time went on, he'd grow into the role and get better. Now, I will say this. I don't know that they're calling everything live when they do the recordings. I don't know how much post work is actually being done, but I imagine that because most of this is being shot all in bulk, all in one day. I don't know how much, like how many reps he's really getting to grow into the role when it's all being done in one day. But with all that being said, yeah, he sucks.
What do you think, Karen?
To touch on that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were batch taping a lot of the New Japan Strong show, so it was like 2 or 3 days of nothing but taping. So there isn't that much time, even if with someone who is as amazing at his job as Kevin Kelly is, without the ability to constantly practice, especially when it's not your first language, it can be very difficult. Comparing him, I think the comparison to Gino and Rocky is very unfair, largely because when they're all on tour together traveling in Japan, they're traveling for weeks at a time, if not, up to 6 weeks or 2 months at a time. And they're working together nearly daily or every other day. So there's that constant contact, that constant ability to practice, improve, exchange notes. So I don't blame Kozlov's ability as a second language speaker, or that, that he's not funny. It's just that he probably needs more practice or more opportunity to hone his craft.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where a lot of people aren't naturally charismatic or naturally funny. It's some people are, like take me for example, I'm stumbling over my words right now. Some people are able to do that very fluidly and very naturally, but it takes practice for most people. And if you're focusing on your craft as a wrestler, you're not necessarily focusing on the podcast side or the commentary side or developing content where you're constantly speaking. Cutting a promo and doing running commentary for hours at a time are two different things.
Right.
It's like a sprint versus a marathon. The training's different, even though the occupation's the same.
Yeah, I definitely think he would also benefit with more reps and outside like the batch kind of tapings they're doing. But yes, based on what we're getting right now, it hasn't been the best. There are certain lines where he does pop me. I do think he can be funny. But yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done there in that role.
Yeah, but I mean, Lanny Poffo popped me a few times too.
Oh boy.
The champion of the English.
The next question here from Reddit user, why did you do that, bro? Said, who did New Japan think they were fooling presenting the Super J Cup as a live show?
You. And me. And literally all of us, because we all were like, well, they're saying it's live, so it's going to be live. And then the funny thing is, like, TJP, Chris Bay, people like that, they're all on it. We're like, oh man, those shows over for Impact, they must be taped because we know the J Cup's live. Turns out it's all taped. That show's taped. Our show's taped.
Yeah.
Only the AAA was live.
Right. And Leo Rush was on the AAA show, so that was another giveaway right there.
Man, these guys, these workers, these carny.
But let's run through this tournament real quick here. So, opening first round match, we had Impact's Chris Bay defeating Clark Connors at 9 minutes and 36 seconds. So a similar fate for Clark as in last year's Super J Cup, being eliminated in the first round.
Before we start that, a couple things I do want to say. I was overall a little taken back by the presentation. I thought that there would be something to kind of differentiate this show from Strong, just in terms of the ambiance, the look, and the style and everything. And there really was literally nothing. Like, pretty much
the trophy and jacket on display. That was the only difference.
There was a trophy and a jacket, and I already kind of don't like watching Strong because of the style of it. Like, I'm just like, man, it's just not that great. And so we got into this, and like, I made the mistake of watching this after watching Triple Mania, after watching World Tag League and Super J Cup, or Best Super Junior. So I'm watching this.
When did you sleep?
I watched it the next morning.
Oh, okay.
So then I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Chris Bay, Clark Connors, cool. But and then also I had high expectations, very high expectations for the show, because I was like, oh, I mean, look at the lineup, it's gonna bang, and it didn't live up to what I was hoping for. But with this match, I think we anticipated last week. Chris Bay, big star in Impact, current title challenger. I saw a lot of New Japan fans and fanboys saying Clark Connor's going to run through him. I'm like, there's no way they're loaning Chris Bay to New Japan for him to lose to a young lion in the first round of a tournament match. But I thought the match was very good for what it was for 9 minutes. And I thought both guys looked good. And I thought, Chris, he made a little impression for me.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid opening round matchup. I do agree with your sentiments on the presentation. Essentially, it was just a strong 1.5 show. But a different kind of layout, different kind of look. But I guess I understand with the situation we're in that they had to do it that way. But yeah, I thought this was a good opening matchup here.
One reason, too, I started thinking it might not be live is because I listen to a lot of podcasts that are set over in, like, California, and they're like, everything's shut down here now. They're, like, in the middle of another lockdown. I'm like, well, where are they? I thought it was still live, so I was like, they must have moved the location. There's no way they could be doing it in California. And then I'm like, oh, it's the same set. Oh, it's not live.
Because, that's
wait for it.
The studio.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the studio they're filming at is shut down now.
Yeah, so there's no way they could have done it if they had actually tried to do it live.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back to last year's New Japan Cup, and I felt like the matches were a bit longer. And I think that's the one thing about the Super J Cup this year. I felt very underwhelmed by it, despite the amazing potential for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think also
they had 3 nights last
year.
time.
Yeah, last year it was split up in 3 nights. Also, we had crowds, so there was longer matches. Obviously, better reaction, better atmosphere.
I went to 2 of the 3. It was amazing.
This kind of reminded me of like one of those King of the Ring pay-per-views. Those like early round matches, like 5, 6, 7 minutes. They just kind of roll through, and you're like, oh man, Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels. That sounds awesome. And then it's like just kind of okay, and you're like, okay.
It's like, that's it.
So what did you think of Chris Bay and Clark Connors, Karen?
I think it was a good learning experience for both of them because, this was Chris Bay's, debut in New Japan, to my knowledge. And Clark Connors, he needs to graduate from that young lion status. So I was kind of hoping that I was hoping for a time limit draw on this one, but that would have eliminated both of them. But it was good, but I just feel like there could have been more.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a
reoccurring theme.
A reoccurring theme
yes.
throughout the show. The next match, so Chris Bay moves on. We had ACH defeating TJP, 9 minutes and 52 seconds. This is a match we've seen a couple times this past year. On commentary, I thought it was interesting. They acted like they had a lot of prior experience way back, kind of ignoring like the AAW match they had this year, kind of, ignoring like all the other matches they had this year as well. So, we've seen some really, really, really good matches between these two guys, even just very recently in Chicago. And I was sort of thinking like, if they cut out some of the fluff and some of the gaga from that match and just like boil it down to the hits, we might have something really good here. Unfortunately, they didn't really do that. They kind of just kept a lot of the gaga and a lot of the fluff and threw a little bit of the hits in at the end. And it was just sort of like, it was a lot less than it could have been.
Yeah.
I think we both thought it was going to be like the match of the first round.
Yeah, and it was just kind of there.
I agree completely. I think the hard part for me is that for ACH and TJP and Leo Rush to an extent as well, I feel like they still have that. They've had to reprogram themselves when they were in WWE, and there's residuals of that still affects their wrestling now. Like they haven't gone completely back to their indies where they don't have to worry about camera angles and any of that stuff. So it was, it could have been it could have been realistically a finals match, and it just did. It was what it was. I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's good enough, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, and I'm sure, it's opening round match. I'm sure TJP.
That's what I'm thinking.
TJP is like, let's do a quick 10 minutes, brother. Get in, get out, get our spots in.
That's exactly what I don't think it's for a lack of like ability. I think it's just they're like, first round. We're getting 10 minutes. There's no crowd. It's being taped weeks in advance. All right, brother, let's do this.
What was the time limit for these matches?
Like 30 minutes? I don't know.
I think that that sounds right, and I think that's why I was frustrated by everything being just around 10 minutes. And I'm like, Super Junior, like one episode was like 3 hours plus, but this was like condensed into like 90 minutes, if that.
Well, I mean, ACH had a really good strategy for this match. He was able to best TJP in 9 minutes and 52 seconds.
Yeah.
He did his damnedest.
We had a question from Redeezer Viking Pain. Says, you guys keep calling TJP the Great TJP. I thought this was his nickname, but it's not. So is this a rib? LOL. If so, how did it start? Yes, it's a rib.
Have we not? I thought we explained this on the show before.
We did explain it. So
explain it to me, please, because I'm very curious about this question.
Okay. So there was some tweets that went out a while back, or maybe it was like from an interview. I don't really remember.
It was tweets. It was like a couple months ago.
Someone someone was asking TJP like AMA style question, like,
Okay.
who have you been in the ring with that you've ever like, learned the most from or gained the most from or whatever. And he was like,
Okay.
and he was literally like, well, I've been looking for that person my entire career. I've never learned anything from anybody. Unfortunately, since day one, I've been the best. Like,
Got it.
so we're like, we always call him in our group chats. We're always like, well, the great TJP. I mean, he's better than Inoki, and he's better than
Tanahashi.
yeah, he's better than Liger. He's better than Daniel Bryan was at Samoa Joe. They couldn't teach him shit. Like he was.
Got it. Okay. That makes a lot more sense now.
He's the great TJP. And like, it's funny because like, as the show gets bigger and as we make more connections in like the wrestling community, the closer and closer we get to like making inflammatory remarks against people that I know are going to eventually hear them. Or like, I'm just waiting for the day when like a wrestler like reaches out and like, the fuck you say?
Don't be those guys. Don't get to that point.
Yeah.
Please. I'll reel y'all in. I'll be like, y'all need to slow it down. Pump the brakes, please.
Oh man. So the next matchup we had All Heart Blake Christian defeating Ring of Honor's Ray Horace. I thought this was one of the better matches in the first round. I thought Blake Christian came to play. So did Ray Horace, and I think they went kind of all out here for this 12 minutes, and did a lot of cool spots.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So here's the deal tonight. So Kenny literally said the words Bullet Club during his little thing on Impact tonight. He like said to the Good Brothers, "Why don't we reform the Bullet Club?" It's like they already exist.
Oh man,
this shit's funny. Anyways, this I'll go as far to say flat out, Blake Christian versus Ray Horace, match of the tournament, match of the night. Close to 4 stars, maybe not quite that, but very close. 12 minutes, excellent showing from both guys. We talked the other week about this being like a sleeper possibility of being like a really, really like good match, but it ended up being like the best match of the night. And I would like to see both of them. Well, Blake Christian's there, but he's kind of he's a GCW guy, so it's like, is he gonna get signed sort of deal? I would like to see him and Ray Horace spend a lot more time in New Japan going forward.
This was my favorite match of the entire series. I'm vaguely familiar with Ray Horace, and Blake Christian I've only recently started watching due to Strong. Did he break his nose during that match, or did he just get a bloody nose?
Yeah, he broke his nose. Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was like that was just like a lot of blood for like a nose tap, but I was like, all right, it's probably broken. But yeah, it was probably the most interesting of the matches, but I wish they would showcase them more, because as a newer fan, I don't watch GCW, so I all I know of his career is from New Japan Strong, and I feel like I'm missing that one piece to make him really click with me. but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they should have done some more like profile pieces.
Yeah, where was that?
Like before each match, like get some background on the guys if you weren't familiar with them, and kind of just familiarize. Because if you haven't been watching Strong, like you mentioned, if you haven't been watching Strong and you don't watch GCW and you don't watch Ring of Honor, this was your first time seeing Blake Christian and Ray Horace. So it's been great. Yeah, have a profile package, give some history, show some clips, some highlights of some of their matches, and then
they showed a little bit. You remember, like they had the screen; it was all blued out, and you could see like them, doing moves in their promotions, but it wasn't enough,
Right.
Well, like with Best of the Super Juniors, they had long interviews with like at least half of the top contenders. And it was not just like one interview. Each person had it was cut into 2 parts, and then they released it like leading up to the series. If this was taped weeks ago, or even when it was announced, I know Kevin and Kelly did some video interviews, but I feel like there could have been more promoting and more educating to get people hyped for this tournament.
Well, it's not enough, especially when you're trying to when you do stuff like that, you put it on your website. The diehard fans like us who pay attention to everything, we're going to tune in. But the reality is the popularity of the brand is on a downward turn here in the States. It's not where it was years ago. And you need to be trying to appeal to more of a mass audience. And what's the greatest way of doing that? Putting it on the show. If it's auxiliary stuff, then the casual fan who might somehow tune into this or watch it, they're going to miss it. They're not going to see it. So it reminds me like when you watch like the early UFCs, which were also one-night tournaments, you'd have a little profile. It doesn't even have to be long. 1 minute, 2 minutes, just like, hey, I'm this person. I'm from here. This is what my goals are. This is what blah, blah, blah. And then you show some highlights of them wrestling from whatever their background is. That's it.
Right.
Did you guys watch the ROH Pure Tournament?
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah. Like
the way that they highlighted each competitor prior to that first round match was fantastic. 90 seconds, covered all the bases. And I just felt like there was more thought put into it.
Right.
And that's if they're going to do these kind of bubble shows where they tape everything, that's the perfect format to do it in.
Right. I mean, in all actuality, all wrestling shows should be doing that because that's how you actually make stars and get people invested in your characters.
Yeah. But I mean, in this particular situation, it's almost detrimental that they're not having that personalized information provided or, showcased.
Yeah, if they had profiles here that you would have learned about the people and you would have gotten more invested in some of these open rounds, invested in these guys and wanted to see them go further in the tournament.
You had stuff like that, too, in the early Super J Cups, like 94, 95. They had profiles like that, like what we're talking about. It was like there's already a template.
Yeah.
Like Leo Rush's little movie doohickey that he did was entertaining. But if you don't know who Leo Rush is, it tells you nothing about him.
That sort of thing is really important nowadays for the like individual performer who is doing like outside stuff, like Ricky Starks is really great at that sort of thing, but it's not going to get played on the main show, Yeah. So you need to have something that is for the product that's on the main show that like makes sense and is really translatable.
Yeah, because just retweeting like the promos from the promo images from New Japan's one thing, but that doesn't make me interested in you. It just shows me that you know how to use Twitter.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they should have been using Strong to do some profile stuff and some hype stuff on the build up, and then on this show there should have been some profile stuff as well.
I mean, this might sound crazy, but maybe throw it on the Super Junior or Best of the Super Juniors, the actual show that actual people watch.
Right.
Not Strong. You throw something on Strong, no one's going to see. That's like throwing it on like 205 Live. No one's seeing that.
Right. We got.
Which is such a shame because 205 Live has such amazing wrestling.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, we got these Dong King videos for that comedian guy. They could have
what is that?
thrown in a J Cup video.
Yeah, so that gentleman is one of the most iconic Japanese entertainers.
Well, that's cool.
But for some reason he has a comedy gimmick that looks like a Japanese Don King, and that's what they're going with.
I'm not even going to criticize it because it's like they always do every couple years. They do something wacky at Wrestle Kingdom, and it's like it's Wrestle Kingdom that they're going to do it. It's whatever.
Well, it's like, with NXT picking like random metal bands to like showcase music for whatever upcoming takeover that they're having. It's the same concept, just with that particular character that's tailored specifically to the Japanese audience. Yeah. Again, another instance, in which I wish they would have provided some explanation to the English-speaking audience, because everyone's like, "What's this guy all about?" And I'm like, "Well,
no,
kind of a big deal, like where he's at."
No, it's so much better when they give us no explanation.
No information.
It's way better.
Oh man!
So let's talk about the final first round match here. Phantasmo he defeated the Moth. What's his nickname?
The Man of the Hour.
The Man of the Hour. The Moth. Leo Rush. 15 minutes 16 seconds. And I saw a lot of people down in this match. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I really like this match too. Also, we got to talk about the heel tactics that Phantasmo was doing throughout this tournament in blocking his
heel tactics from El Phantasmo.
The audacity.
In blocking his new entrance music. He's been hyping up this remix of his theme song for quite some time now, and he said, Super Juniors was finally Super J Cup was finally gonna be the moment where he was going to reveal the new entrance music for the fans, and then his entrance comes and the music is muted. It says due to copyright that no sound is being played. And we find out that El Phantasmo is holding up the promotion for more money for the rights of his remix music that he remixed to be played on their broadcast.
In his defense, on one of Tama's Island's little like Zoom meetings that Tama does, like the happy hour with one of his Patreon tiers, Phantasmo played it, and it's amazing. It's really, really, really good. So I get it. I actually appreciate that little extra added layer of heel work added on top of it. But again, Super J-Cast made an interesting tweet a couple of days ago.
Who?
That Super J-Cast?
Oh, we don't recognize them on the show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just playing.
But it was that the New Japan Cup USA, World Tag League, and Super J Cup were all won by Bullet Club heels. And the current contract holder is also in Bullet Club. So I don't know if like this year was supposed to be Bullet Club's year for all the things or what, but it's just like knowing that he's the only guy besides Clark Connors that's signed to a contract, it kind of made sense, but I kind of didn't want him to win back-to-back.
Yeah, I mean, from day one, we looked at the bracket and we're like, it's pretty clear Phantasmo is going all the way. But back to this matchup. Yeah, I really did enjoy this match. There was an interesting story of, Phantasmo not having a match since, February or March and kind of having some ring rust and, purposely messing up some of his signature spots, the rope walking spot, there's a couple other spots he was trying to pull off, the nip up spot, and, just showing that ring rust and eventually, throughout the match, trying to have him build back up to that and using shortcuts to get the better of Leo Rush.
One of my favorite things was listening to one of the recaps. Brian Alvarez was like telling Dave Meltzer how like he thought Phantasmo might have actually had ring rust and that these might have been actual mistakes. And I was like, what? I was like, weren't you a professional wrestler? Like, you can't tell that this dude is clearly, like, the first time I saw him fall, I was like, oh, that's part of this. Like, that's clearly part of the story because El Phantasmo, first off, it was taped. So why would they leave that in there?
Right.
If they could have reshot it, if it was,
It's live. It's live.
It's live. But, and then they, like, worked it into the story, and that's, like, what Dave Meltzer was, like, telling Brian. Brian's like, well, I think the first one was a mistake, and then they decided to like improvise and then turn. And I was like, no, they didn't.
Yeah, that was the story of the whole match.
It was the story of the match. I thought this actually had the best story, quote unquote, overall of all the matches. I thought Leo Rush gave a good accounting of himself. Not enough to where, like, if I were seeing this as a first-time viewer and I'd never seen Lio Rush, where I'd be like, I definitely want him back. You know, I think people who are familiar with his work are like, oh my God, I want Lio Rush in New Japan, especially with the comments that he's made recently talking about that always being a goal of his and he wants to be here, which I hope that ends up being the case. But I wasn't, like, overly impressed with this match, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it told a good story. You know, the fact that one of them's been active, one of them hasn't, and he wasn't able to really beat Lio Rush without having to go to his bag of tricks, because otherwise he was too rusty.
Yeah, Lio.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Karen.
I was going to say, well, also as the defending champion, he also has the most to lose in this entire situation, which is that ticket to Wrestle Kingdom.
Right, and that would have been a huge upset for the, reigning, last year Super J Cup winner to go out on the first round.
Well, I think, too, one reason I was so intrigued by this match is because there was that element. Like, they put the spotlight on Lio Rush. They did they showcased the video that he put out. There was a lot of tweets about the interview that he did, and I was like, I mean, if you wanted to, like, really make him, you have him be ELP in the first round, and, like, if he is signed or sticking around, there's your ticket. That he's made night one, and I thought that this was the most intriguing of all the first round matches, and I thought whoever won this would probably win the tournament, which turned out to be true, but I was kind of hoping Lio Rush might be ELP, honestly.
Yeah. So, yeah, Lio went for the final hour frog splash. Fantasmo got the knees up, pushed Lio into the referee while the ref was down. Punch to the balls, roll up, 1, 2, 3. Just like last year, Super J Cup, ELP gets the win, knocks out Lio Rush. Did have a couple questions here. First from Rambo and Slam Pig says, Lio Rush has been very public regarding the desire to work for New Japan. What would be your dream matchup for him if he did come over for some tours?
Hiromu.
Yeah, I think Hiromu is definitely the easy answer.
Yo, Robbie, and Uemura.
I would also say Taiji Ishimori.
Yeah, Ishimori from a speed perspective, because they're like two of the fastest wrestlers out there aside from Darby Allin. Like those.
I'm afraid Ishimori's Cypher Tataki would probably shatter Lio Rush's like tiny frame.
But that's like my trifecta or trinity of like speed wrestlers out there. Like those are the three fastest guys probably in wrestling today. So I mean, I'd probably like to see that.
Next question from Viking Pain says, do you guys think Lio Rush has a future with New Japan? It seems like they went out of their way to protect him in his ELP match, and well, the Empire does need a junior ace. I mean, I definitely think with Lio being so open to wanting to work with New Japan and kind of being a top name that U.S. fans recognize, I definitely think they could leverage him to kind of help with the popularity in the Western fan base. And I think, as things kind of get better as traveling, getting people over to Japan, I think Lio Rush is somebody that they could potentially bring into Best Super Juniors next year.
I think it would be awesome if they brought him in. I think there's a lot of really great matchups for him. When I saw him wrestling ELP, the one thought I had is like he is a game changer in terms of the junior division. Every now and again you bring that one guy in, whether it's a Jon Moxley or a Shingo Takagi, someone like that who like is fresh, or Kenta has had no matches with anybody in the division, and just by injecting them, you're like, wow, this breathes a whole new life into the division. That's what I feel like they have with Lio Rush. So I think it would be really great if he did come in. I'm not saying they need it necessarily, but I think it would be great for all parties involved.
I think, like, when I talked about ACH and TJP, I think he needs to be working a bit more New Japan Strong style matches. I think he needs to be more familiar with it before going over. I think he does have a future, but when we were at New Beginning in Tampa, I keep going back to that match that Jeff Cobb had with Alex Zane, and Alex was relatively new to the New Japan style, and at one point it looked like he was about to hurt Jeff Cobb. So for me, from a safety perspective, I want him to be more familiar with how New Japan does their match styles. With knowing that he has a family with like, I don't know if he'd be able to be away for long periods of time, but I mean, that's a personal choice. I think it would be interesting. I don't see him joining the Empire, though. I don't think that would be the move for him.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think if he came in, he'd kind of be that, that top kind of American gaijin that you bring in for certain tours.
I mean, I don't know where he'd fit in because they never really bring in black stars hardly at all. So we don't know where they would even plug him in.
That's the other problem.
Right.
They have a very specific type that they like to import and strap a rocket to.
Yeah.
I feel like the last black guy that they brought in that they really plugged into any group was Shelton Benjamin in Suzuki-gun. I mean, you could say Ricochet, but Ricochet was he was Hantai. And that it seems like they bring a lot of
and ACH was Hantai also.
He was Hantai too. So it's
and I feel like a lot of people would compare Leo to Ricochet, especially if he were paired with Taguchi in Hontai.
The one thing,
that's not fair to Leo.
The one thing I will say though is I think he'd be totally fine day one if they brought him to Japan. I think there's a world of difference between Alex Zane and Leo Rush. There's a world of difference. I think he's good to go right now. I mean, it could probably do him some good to work in the dojo with those guys. Work out a few things, but I mean, he doesn't really need much, honestly, at all.
Yeah, and I think the junior style in New Japan is very similar to a style Leo's used to, so I definitely think so he can acclimate to that. So next up, we then had a tag match, non-tournament action. Team Filthy's Danny Limelight and J.R. Kratos defeated Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser, and our good friend Rocky Romero.
Yeah. I mean, who knows how much longer Danny Limelight's even with the company or how much longer this Team Filthy is going to continue because Russ Taylor's gone already. But, they're probably not going to acknowledge that until the next batch of tapings.
Right.
But I thought this match was fine. I thought it was a good little filler match. I didn't think anything was outstanding. It was fine.
Yeah, it continued the story of Team Filthy versus New Japan Strong, Hontai, I'll call them.
Versus Rocky.
Rocky Goon.
Rocky coming soon.
And it also continued the story between Danny Limelight and Rocky Romero. Also, Danny kind of turned his back on Rocky to join Team Filthy. And they had that one-on-one match on Strong a few months ago, and now Danny pinned Rocky, so I'm sure we'll get another singles matchup down the line with Danny and Rocky.
Ooh, Rocky's going to beat him and send him packing, and then that's why he's, on AEW now.
Oh, no. Was he signed?
No.
He's not signed, but
okay, because I was like, I don't keep up with the news, so I was like, oh, no, where's he going?
He's not signed, but he's working over there a lot, and it's like, you know how they are. You work a couple darks, and suddenly Danny Limelight is all elite.
Yeah, actually, Danny Limelight is facing your trainer this coming week on Dark, Matt Sydal.
Is he, or did they already fight?
Well, it's already taped, but it'll be airing.
Oh, okay.
Actually, tonight. Today is Tuesday. I forgot. This is not Monday. It's Tuesday. So it aired tonight.
Yeah, they might have already fought.
Yeah.
Goodness. The only thing that kind of disappoints me about having Team Filthy in New Japan Strong is that I feel like they're going to start creating more factions here, and that New Japan Strong isn't going to have any crossover with New Japan as we know it in Japan. I feel like it's going to start evolving into its own separate brand. So there won't be that crossover where once travel opens up that, a couple people from Suzuki-gun could drop by for a couple of tapings, or a couple people from Chaos could drop by for a couple of tapings. I feel like there's going to be, might feel a little disjointed. If that makes sense.
I think it's a problem, but I also think it's an easy fix. Part of the problem right now is that they haven't been acknowledging anything on the show hardly at all, aside from the one or two things that they want to import over, like the briefcase or something like that. So, all they'd really have to do is just start acknowledging it. And I think maybe that could happen once the travel restrictions lift, you know? But it could also just be this thing where, like, last week I called Strong Dragon Ball GT. Like, it just lives in its own
microcosm.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been a problem with it. And we've mentioned that before too. Yeah, I would like there to be more crossover. I like in Japan shows like them to mention stuff that's happening in Strong, especially now that the guys are over there. Like, talk about what Kenta and these guys have been doing in America and vice versa. Just make there more crossover instead of it kind of end up being its own thing. So next up, we had second round action. We had ACH defeating Chris Bay 8 minutes and 27 seconds.
This is gonna sound crazy. I don't remember this match. Like,
Same.
I don't remember it.
Again, another match I was looking forward to, but again, they went out there only 8 minutes, kind of did their thing, hit some of their spots, and it was a fine matchup.
It was fine. I remember it being, I think I wrote down like 3 stars, but I don't really remember it. I just know ACH beat him. I don't remember him like selling the back. I know that would come into play in the main event.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, there was attack on the back.
I don't even remember that.
But he did. I know he won with the Midnight Star. What's his version of the 450.
Okay. After that, we had El Phantasmo defeating Blake Christian 7 minutes and 24 seconds to move on to the finals. I thought that this was probably, in my opinion, Phantasmo's best match of the tournament overall. I thought Blake Christian gave a really good accounting of himself, and I think he's the standout of the entire tournament.
Definitely. And then we had the story here of Christian coming in with the broken nose, being very weakened from the match with Ray Horace, then Phantasmo kind of taking advantage of that injury.
I just spent the whole match worried about his nose.
Yeah, that looked like it was a pretty bad break there. But I guess, living the gimmick, he called himself All Heart. He didn't want to give up and brought the fight. As soon as the bell rang, he hit him with that missile drop kick, the shotgun drop kick to the corner, and really tried to bring it to Phantasmo. But Phantasmo once again just kind of out-weaseled him and weaseled his way to another victory. And then that brings us to the semi-main. We had the Bullet Club of Hikuleo and Kenta defeating the debuting Kevin Knight and the returning Ren Narita.
Believe it or not, I ended up finding this match to be maybe the most interesting match of the entire night. I don't know if it was from a match quality standpoint as good necessarily as a lot of the singles action we had, but I think when I look back on this card, like a year or two from now, this will probably be the match that I end up paying the most attention to because A, we haven't really seen Narita in a while since he left for Excursion, but B, this is the first time we've ever seen Kevin Knight, and this told us a lot about the progression and the current standing of both of these guys, and the work that they did with Hikuleo and Kenta ended up being from a just general interest standpoint. Like it just ended up being the most interesting thing that happened all night for me.
Yeah, I mean, long-time listeners know we love Ren Narita, and I was very sad that we haven't seen a lot of him this year. So, yeah, it was great to see him back. Thought he looked really good. And then new young lion. We got a black young lion.
Did you ever think you would see the day?
And Kevin Knight, who's apparently been handpicked by Shibata to be in the LA dojo. And also he's replacing Carl Fredericks, who suffered an injury and couldn't make this matchup. And so... When did he suffer the injury?
Yeah. When did this...
Earlier in the day when he had his match with Jay White taped.
Yeah.
Oh, so like weeks ago?
Yeah.
So these people been false advertising him until the day of? Like,
yes.
Get out of here.
But yeah, I thought Kevin Knight looked, for the first time seeing him, thought he looked really good. Looking forward to seeing his progression and seeing him integrated into the New Japan system.
Bro, he was just like any other young lion. You see him for the first time. You expect them to be green. And of course they are, but they're way less green than you'd expect them to be. It's just, I don't understand the system, how they're able to produce guys that are so competent so early. They just are. And, he's an athlete. To steal a phrase, he has all the tools.
Oh, but
But no, in all seriousness, I thought he showed a lot of fire, and I thought he came off very well in this match. I look forward to seeing him again.
What's Kevin's background?
Football, right? Didn't they say he was like football, track and field, or am I wrong?
honestly, it's kind of commentary is kind of a blur from the show for me.
One of the things I've noticed is that when Shibata selects his young lions, he's not really taking somebody who's fresh out of college or fresh out of high school. They have some kind of background. Even Ren Narita, went through the Noge Dojo, and then he begged Shibata to give him another chance and teach him from square one. And Fredericks and Clark, they also had indie experience before going into the dojo. So I'm curious to know if there's a certain, like, kind of like how NXT has their PC where there's a tryout, if there's a certain amount of athletic acumen or sports experience or even wrestling experience that's required to be selected to become a young lion. But I don't think he's actually teaching anyone from like 0-0.
I think he has indie experience.
He does. So he's trained and he's worked before. Kevin Knight was a track and field athlete in high school and played American football in college. Boom, I was right. Which I didn't want, I said those because I've got pretty good memory, just intuitively. But I threw those out there. I was like, I don't want to have just assumed a couple sports and just throw them out there. I better fact check this.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing is that they announced him, but didn't introduce him. Like, I want to know more.
Well, he's a lion. All you need to know is he wears black trunks and has black shoes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's what I was always curious about is that when they announced him, I wanted to know more about him. But there's like no profile. There's no introduction to him. There's no, hey, here's 5 quick facts about our new young lion. Just, oh, by the way, he's replacing somebody who's injured.
For me,
tell me more.
For me, he's a lion. We don't need to know nothing else. You're a lion.
Yeah, we really normally don't get a lot of background on those guys, so I wasn't expecting too much info on him. But yeah, hopefully in the future we will get some more info on him. Then we have a question here from Donovan 101. Thoughts on Hikuleo? What is the future for him, and what's his ceiling? Also, thoughts on Kevin Knight. So we talked about Kevin Knight. Thoughts on Hikuleo and his future?
I think Hikuleo is improved, but recently most of the work's been done on Strong. Like we mentioned, they're taping a lot at one time. I'd like to see him in Japan. That's going to be the next litmus test that really tells me what's next for him. As far as the future, I really don't know. I guess probably just playing a heavy for his brothers or for the Bullet Club, honestly. As far as his ceiling, I don't know. Like, probably being the enforcer of the Bullet Club for the time being, or whatever the Tongans end up doing.
Yeah, I mean, he could potentially grow into a Bad Luck Fale role, where he's kind of a big bruiser, and he's like he can get like an IWGP title match, or he can knock an Okada out in the New Japan Cup, but not really be pushed quite to the top level.
And Karen, what are your thoughts on Hikuleo, or what do you see the future for him? His ceiling.
I feel like I need to go back and watch what he did in Rev Pro, because I know that for a while he was, that's where his excursion was before the lockdown happened, and he was with ELP working over there. I often feel like when he does the Strong shows, he's eclipsed by everybody else in Bullet Club. So I would need to see him do more wrestling on his own. I don't think he has the option to go to anywhere but Bullet Club at some point, but I just feel like he needs something to make him stand out, or he's just going to blur. He's just going to blend into the background.
Right. He's just going to be GOD's little brother.
Yeah. And I don't think that's fair to him just to be stuck in his brother's shadows.
I think because he's going to be aligned with them, though, I don't think he has to be stuck in their shadow, but I think he's still going to be like a heavy or an enforcer type. similar to Bad Luck Fale. You know, no one thinks Fale is in the shadow of the other Tongans, but like at the same time, he's like very intrinsically like linked to them. So I could see him being like the next underboss or something like that.
Yeah.
The underboss of the underboss.
Yes, exactly.
So the final match of the evening, the Super J Cup 2020 final match, we had El Phantasmo defeating ACH 16 minutes and 11 seconds. I thought this was a good final match. Obviously, a lot of the story of this match was built around ACH's injured back. Prior to the match starting, Phantasmo attacked ACH, used a trophy to bash it over his back. I believe he also hit him into the announce table, and so he was trying to get the forfeit win, but ACH decided to continue, and also that was the story of the whole match, kind of working through the back. ACH had to fight through the back pain to get through El Phantasmo, but ultimately failed to conquer ELP.
One thing was, before this match started, and I guess it's all heat based, but it's like before they started this match, they're like, this is the history of the New Japan or of the Super J Cup. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, they're finally actually like doing some graphics and yada yada, adding some prestige to this thing. So that's pretty cool. And then as soon as it ends and ACH is coming out, El Phantasmo is attacking him. And I get it. It's intended to like build heat. But I was just like, I don't know. It's just a lot of heat on this show for this guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's like almost too much. But then like, he breaks the trophy. The trophy didn't look like any special trophy. It reminded me of like the trophies my brother used to compete for when he was like in Taekwondo, which was fine.
It's a Cobra Kai trophy.
Yeah, it's like a Cobra Kai. Danny LaRusso like definitely won that in like 87. But the match was fine. I expected more from Phantasmo and ACH. They were telling a body part story match. I thought, believe it or not, we've been complaining about how short the matches were, but at 60 minutes, it felt kind of long in the tooth for me. And ELP won, and I don't know. I was a little underwhelmed. And it wasn't even really like, I don't like him. It's just like, it's fine. Very little that was super about this Super J Cup for me.
What do you think, Karen?
With the talent in the ring and the match going as long as it did, I felt like they could have done so much more with it. Because I go back to the final last year where it was him and Dragon Lee, and by the end of it, he had dove over the railing, split his head open, was bleeding everywhere. Like it just, I guess, for safety precautions, he couldn't try to top what he did the previous year, but at the same time, knowing how talented, especially someone like ACH is, and them not going all out, especially within hours of Hiromu versus Desperado, it's just like, I just felt like there was such an imbalance in the two finals.
Yeah, I think part of the problem here was definitely the lack of the crowd with the story they were telling. They're telling the story of ELP being this dastardly heel and getting heat on ACH and working over the injured back. I feel like a crowd would have been really into that and would have been willing on ACH and trying to get behind ACH and really want ACH to win. And with the few near falls that ACH had towards the closing stretch, I think you would have gotten a lot of gas from crowds because they would have wanted to see ACH beat this dastardly heel ELP who's been cheating the whole tournament, similar to last year's tournament where you wanted to see Dragon Lee, get the win and at the end there. And so with the lack of crowd, I think that really hurt the story of this match.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest problem here is this man hurt himself, split his head open last year, and Karen just wants more blood. I mean, she's a sadist out here.
Hey, Blake,
Give me more blood.
Blake Christian gave you the blood for this show.
Poor boy.
Now, here's one thing I don't understand. So they said this show was live, but it wasn't live. It was shot weeks ago. But then ELP came out and called out Hiromu Takahashi.
He did not call.
He didn't name him.
He said, "Mr. Best of the Super Junior winner, I'm coming for you." He did not once say the words Hiromu Takahashi. He just said, I'm challenging the Best of the Super Junior winner.
He never said
then
Hiromu?
he
never
reciprocated
said
the same
Hiromu.
thing.
He said,
Neither of them ever said the other person's name.
right.
Okay, because for some reason, I could have sworn I thought I heard him say Hiromu, and I was like, oh, shit, you know?
Nope. He's like, Mr. Best of the Super Junior, I'm calling you out.
Are you sure he didn't say Hiromu Takahashi before
I'm
that?
sure you're listening because you heard Wrestling Observer. Alvarez said he said Hiromu.
No. I thought that when I watched it already.
No, he said, Mr. Best of the Super Junior, I'm calling you out. He's like, I want Wrestle Kingdom, Super J Cup winner versus Best of Super Junior winner. I'll see you there. He never said Hiromu's name.
Okay.
He was tempted to say it. He looked like he wanted to say it, but no. Both of them made a point not to say the other person's name.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least that part is good. It did kind of ruin my bit a little bit, but that's good.
We had 2 questions here from Dom Homie 101. It said, first, if Liger ever decided to come out of retirement for one match, would it make sense for his opponent to be ELP, with the story being Liger wanting to humble ELP?
No, he should never come out of retirement. There's no scenario that makes sense.
Seconded. I don't need Liger to become the Undertaker.
Yeah, as much as I love Liger and would love to see another Liger match, I think he needs to stay retired as well.
I bet you if he did it, I'd mark, though.
No, he's having too much fun on commentary and working with the girls at Stardom. If he comes out of retirement, he's fighting Julia in Stardom. He's not fighting anybody.
I don't know if he's fighting Julia. I think he's going to try and join Donna Del Mondo.
I want to join Donna Del Mondo, but okay.
Because, all the boys love Julia, and so does Liger.
God bless her.
He also asked, do you guys think that maybe Clark Connors could pull off a Wild Pegasus type gimmick, since he has some major similar with the original Wild Pegasus?
Well, Wild Pegasus wasn't really a gimmick. It was just a name. So could he pull off a gimmick where he just is a hard-nosed, grizzled, outsider a la Dynamite Kid? Sure. I mean, that's kind of already what he's doing. I mean, I don't know what the plans are for him going forward, but yeah, he could definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, on this show, I've definitely compared him a lot to Benoit, and so I don't know if you would want to give him the Wild Pegasus.
I don't think so.
Right.
Correct.
But he reminds me so much of Benoit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That is pretty much going to do it for our review of Super J Cup, unless you guys have any closing thoughts.
Now, overall, not the greatest tournament. There was some fine wrestling, but yeah, definitely was hoping for a little bit more.
So before we move on, we've got the news, we've got the Road to Tokyo Dome shows coming up. How do you want to do this, Jeremy? Because I don't want to have too long of a marathon episode. We're already like 2:40 in right now.
Yeah, so I think for Road to Tokyo Dome, let's just run through these cards. And then I think we could just kind of jump to the news and talk about the Wrestle Kingdom matches real quick.
You're going to run through the cards, I guess, when you're done. If we have any, overarching thoughts, maybe we could throw them in there.
Yeah. So Monday, December 21st, 4:30 a.m. on New Japan World, we'll have Tiger Mask, Togi Makabe, and Satoshi Kojima versus Yota Tsuji, Yu Uemura, and Gabriel Kidd. Juice Robinson and Toru Hinare versus Kenta and Yujiro Takahashi. Hiroshi Tenzan versus Kateguchi, Master Wato versus Minoru Suzuki, El Desperado, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and Doki versus G.O.D. and Chase Owens. Okada, Tanahashi, and Honma versus the Empire. And Naito, Sonata, and Bushi versus Jay White, Evil, and Dick Togo. On Tuesday, December 22nd, we'll have Toru Yano and Honma versus Fale and Owens. Tenzan, Taguchi, Wato versus Suzuki, Desperado, and Kanemaru. Dangerous Tekkers and Doki versus G.O.D. and Yujiro Takahashi. Naito, Sonata, and Hiromu versus Evil, Dick Togo, and Taiji Ishimori. Shingo and Bushi versus Great Okan and Cobb. And the main event that night will be Ibushi, Juice, and Sho versus Jay White, Kenta, and Gato. And then on Wednesday, December 23rd, we'll have Tiger Mask returning the action here, teaming up with Taguchi and Wato versus Tsuji, Uemura, and Kidd. Then we'll have Shingo, Sonata, and Hiromu versus Evil, Dick Togo, and Taiji Ishimori. We will have the KOPW 2020 match for, the Body Slam match, and this should determine the the actual KOPW champion for 2020, Toru Yano versus Bad Luck Fale. Then we'll have Jay White and Kenta versus Juice Robinson and Toa Henare. Semi-main event, Okada, Tanahashi, and Honma versus the Empire. And then the main event will be Naito and Bushi versus Kota, Ibushi, and Sho. We did have a question here from Why Did You Do That, Bro? He says, Evil and Jay are teaming for the first time at Road to Tokyo Dome. Do you think there might be a small angle based on the tension between them?
I do think that there could be a tease of dissension. I don't think there's going to be an angle necessarily because they both got, dates at the Tokyo Dome and, opponents that they need to focus on. But all bets are off once January 5th comes and goes.
Yeah, there might be some seeds, but I don't think it's going to be a huge angle.
My question is, who eats the pin in that match? Because every single one of those people have a Tokyo Dome match.
Dick Togo?
Oh, sorry. Am I looking at the wrong one? I am looking at the wrong one.
Yes.
Sorry, I was looking at the 23rd where it was Shingo, Sonata, and Hiromu versus Evil, Dick Togo, and Taiji Ishimori. My apologies.
No worries.
Wrong line.
Yeah, that December 21st main event. Yeah.
Oh, that's the main event?
Yeah.
See, you put this on reverse. I was like, man, Naito's opening a lot on these.
Well, that's why I read them in reverse order.
Okay. See, but
never mind. It's Bushi. It's fine.
One thing I'd like to point out, Tiger Mask is back.
Yes.
Yay!
My dog. I did notice Juice Robinson and Hinare against Kenta and Yujiro, and that might lend a lot of...
Juice is against Kenta all 3 nights in multi-man, so...
So your, assumption that there might be a match between the two of them, that might be one other singles match that they probably are setting up for the Dome. Maybe not for the Dome, but I would bet it probably is going to be on that show.
Yeah.
One of them.
Also had a question here from our user Jim Manis. He says, Yano vs. Bad Luck Fale for the KOPW 2020 title on a Road 2 show before intermission. Not the provisional title. This will be the 2020 title. Question, how buried is the KOPW title?
So buried, they want us to forget about it once this is said and done.
I feel like it started out as Okada's project, and then it quickly became fodder for Yano's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, well, that was really nice, Okada. Why don't you go over here and do this, and let us handle this for the rest of the year.
We'll take good care of this for you.
Another gimmick match that's really just a derivative of a normal match. Oh, and how many great body slam matches have there ever been in history? So many.
Yeah.
I feel like Yano's going to throw his back out.
What's the over-under that this is better than Andre and Big John Studd from WrestleMania 1?
I don't think it'll be better.
I do.
We'll see.
I'll take that bet.
Then real quick, last Friday's Strong, we had Clark Harms DKC defeating the Regal Twins, the Bullet Club team of Chase, Hikuleo, and Tangaloa defeating Finley, Juice, and Mysterioso Jr., Tama Tonga defeating ACH, and the main event was Jay White defeating Carl Fredericks. This coming Friday, Kenta will defend the briefcase against Brody King. We'll have PJ Black and Fred Rosser versus Tom Waller and JR Kratos, Jeff Cobb versus Russ Taylor, and Rocky Romero versus Danny Limelight.
Man, the Empire versus Team Filthy, that feud just continues. It's great.
So then moving on to the Wrestle Kingdom matches that were announced this coming weekend. So we already knew about Tetsuya Naito versus Kota Ibushi on January 4th for the double titles. We knew about Okada versus Will Ospreay. Newly announced, we got Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Great Okan. We will have the Dangerous Tekkers defending against Guerrillas of Destiny. And then we will have the Best Super Junior winner, Hiromu Takahashi, facing off against the Super J Cup winner, El Phantasmo. Then that takes us to January 5th. We'll have the winner of Hiromu and El Phantasmo facing off Taiji Ishimori for the IWGP Junior title. We'll have Shingo Takagi defending the Never title against Jeff Cobb. We will have the big showdown between former partners in Sonata versus Evil. And then, of course, we'll have the winner of Naito and Ibushi facing Jay White for the double titles. A bunch of questions
Before
here.
we get into those questions, Jeremy, please acknowledge the fact that I called this booking decision for the J Cup and the Super Junior champions to fight each other way early on.
You did. Ahead.
Nostradamus up in this motherfucker.
So let's run through these questions real quick. So first from Rambo and Slam Pig says, I'm excited for Great Okan versus Tanahashi. According to some of my fellow wrestling nerds on the internet, that is wrong. What is your take on Tanahashi's role? What this portends for Great Okan's future trajectory, and whether we should expect something special or just a mid-card filler?
I'll start. It's definitely not going to be mid-card because it's like third from the top. So that's a pretty big deal. This is a lot of people are comparing this to when Jay White fought Tanahashi in his return from excursion. I think it's very similar to that. One thing that some people might be missing out on, I mean, when Oka was a young lion, he was Tanahashi's personal young boy. So that is, definitely something that's playing into this whole thing here. But, I mean, already in the short period of time that Great Okan has been back, he's made serious connection with the crowd. His merchandise is selling. People are wearing the freaking question mark, double towel. And yeah, there were some things we criticized about the gimmick and about some of the work early on, but they started fixing it almost day one as soon as the World Tag League started. And we're at a point now where, like, I kind of believe in Great Okan, and I think there's even a good chance he might even beat Tanahashi in the Dome, especially if like Tanahashi's 2020 trend of putting other people over like tells us anything. So I am excited for the match. I can understand why some people might not be excited for the match, especially if they're listening to the narrative that Okan is a charisma black hole. He doesn't have it, but I'll tell you what, the company's going with him. So, like, whether you like it or not, you better strap in because they don't kind of put the promotional, like, strength and machine behind a guy like this if they don't believe in him. And they've believed in Oka since day one. He's been Sugabayashi's one of his pet projects since they signed the guy. It was a major deal. It's been a major deal we've been waiting for him to come back, and now he's back and he looks awesome. And I don't know if the match is going to be good or bad because we haven't seen enough of him to really assess whether he's ready to go at that level or not. But regardless, even if it flounders, which I don't think it will, but even if it does, he's getting the Jay White treatment. And that's the long and short of it. Like, this is exciting because you're watching a guy that they're going to push as a top star for years to come. You're getting to see the genesis of it, and you can say, I was there day one, because that is what's happening here. Make no mistakes about it.
What do you think, Karen?
Well, I touched on this earlier, is that Tanahashi's at the age where he has to start focusing on the future of the company. And part of that, unfortunately, as one of the gatekeepers of the company, is that he needs to start putting over talent that's junior to him. I'm still, like, I might be late to the Oka party. I don't know. But I don't think their match is going to be a bad one. My only concern is that after, the Empire throttled Tanahashi after their match, he did go for an MRI on his knee. But because he mentions it on his blog and on his podcast, but from what I gather, it's clear. But, the man's knees are being held together with love and energy. So I'm worried about him.
Yeah, I think that's probably, him doing a little bit of work too. He wants people to be worried about his knees, and I'm sure that's going to be the main target for Okan that night, is going after the legs and the knees. And Tanahashi's incredible at selling his legs and fighting through that pain, so that should help with that match. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very good match. Maybe it might not be blow away, but I think at the very least it'll be very good, and it will help establish Okan. Like you mentioned, Josh, we saw with Jay White. Jay did not have the best match with Tanahashi that night, and look where Jay is now. And so I think this is going to be good for Okan. I think Okan is a star. I think he has charisma, and I think he's a very interesting player right now. And like you mentioned, Kerry, I do think Tanahashi is going to move into this role of where he is putting over younger talent, especially guys like Okan that he sees a lot of future in.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be one of the guys that, like, for instance, or girls or whoever, if you don't like him, that's your prerogative. But I'm telling you, they're going to push him for years to come. That's just what's happening. And so because that's happening, and the company clearly has confidence in him to be able to do that, I think that everybody that has faith in him right now is probably going to be rewarded for it, because he's a special talent. We've seen that since his young Lion days. But I think a lot of the people who right now are buying into this idea that like he's not good and the company is making a mistake and what do they see in him, those people are going to look really foolish. So, I mean, we're kind of giving you an insider scoop right now that, like, if you don't know, you probably want to buy some stock in Oka.
Yeah. Next question from Stale Burger Bun. He says, do you think that Great Okan can get a good match out of Tanahashi?
That's a stupid question. Sorry. Get a good match out of Tanahashi?
I'm pretty sure he's ribbing us here.
Oh. I mean, they know how I feel about Tanahashi.
Next question from Viking Pain. He says, was Oka Tanahashi's young boy before Tsuji? A friend told me he was, but I don't recall that. Maybe I'm just confusing him with Tsuji because they're both big boys. If he was, though, that they could use this history to build up the Wrestle Kingdom 15 match.
I don't think they're using it too much. I think it exists. They might allude to it. It's like one of those things with New Japan, and a lot of their feuds and storylines are like this. You don't need to know it. Similar to like Desperado and Hiromu, you don't need to know it to buy into what's happening right now. But if you know it, it adds, a little bit more like a wrinkle to things, and it's there. It's under the surface.
Yeah. Next from Ready User Asai Yojimbo says, what junior title match outcome has more mileage? Hiromu, Ishimori, or ELP?
I mean, I'll take Hiromu Ishimori any day. I mean, I'm more excited for the first time meeting between ELP and Hiromu, but I do not have faith in ELP as a performer at all in the way I do in Ishimori. Plus, Ishimori and Hiromu's a proven commodity. We know that match is great no matter what. I don't know what Hiromu and ELP looks like. It might be really good, but I bet you 5 times out of, like, if they wrestled 5 times, I bet you, like, a couple of those are stinkers.
Yeah, I think Hiromu Ishimori makes the most sense. I think Hiromu winning the junior title makes the most sense as well.
Well, I think this was the question I sent to you guys a couple of weeks ago when you were recording, was that for me, the best of the Super Junior winner fights 3 times the number of people that the Super J Cup winner does. So personally, I feel like there's an unfair advantage for ELP going into the match based on the number of matches and the amount of match time he's wrestled in this Super J Cup versus what Hiromu and everybody else wrestled during the Best of the Super Juniors. I am curious to see how him versus Hiromu works out. I don't have faith at this point, after knowing that Bullet Club's won most of the tournaments this year, that they wouldn't try to do Ishimori versus ELP to have that be one of the multiple catalysts that launches Bullet Club into disarray. But I feel like since Naito got the MVP award from Tokyo Sports, he made it a point to say that he still hasn't had his match from the anniversary show with Hiromu, meaning Naito might be actually trying to hold on to those belts until the anniversary show so he can wrestle Hiromu. Don't know if it'll happen. Don't think it'll happen. But again, I feel like a lot of the fans, especially in Japan, if they're not going to get Naito versus Hiromu at some point, they're going to be very upset about it.
Definitely.
I guess I misunderstood the question. When he said which has more mileage, he was talking about which
guy winning, leaving with the junior title.
Oh, well, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. I think Hiromu, it's Wrestle Kingdom. It's a major title. You want to send the fans home happy. It's Hiromu's. Why would you have Hiromu win the Super Juniors if he doesn't go back-to-back both nights? I think he is winning both matches. I think it's an easy booking decision.
I think the frustrating thing with me for that was that Hiromu came back this time last year, got a pin, got the title at Wrestle Kingdom, and so he's already had it. Right. And him and Ishimori have kind of been WWE flip-flopping the belt back and forth all year.
Right.
I kind of want somebody else to have a chance with the belt, but I don't want it to be another heel.
right?
Right.
I
That's
agree.
my problem with it.
I agree with that, but then there's this other part of me that's like, do it again.
Yeah, and I think Hiromu really hasn't gotten that strong title run yet. We had COVID that ruined his title run, and then he pretty much immediately dropped it to Taiji when we came back. So I think winning the title back, see him get the run that he should get and run with the title, have some great matches with the challengers, and then eventually lead to a big match that will build somebody else up.
Since I didn't understand the question, I do think that there will be a catalyst to a rift in the Bullet Club between ELP and Ishimori, but I think that will play out in the first night when ELP loses. I think that there will be some sort of shenanigans of some sort.
Expectation that Ishimori comes out and helps him.
I don't even know if it's him, but it might be. I think something will happen. I don't want to say what it is because I don't know what specifically, but ultimately it won't work out and Hiromu will still win. And then at that point, ELP will be, upset. Or maybe it'll happen in reverse. Maybe ELP will come out the next night, try to help Ishimori.
And cost him the title.
And cost him or something like that. These are all possibilities. Something like that.
Next question from our user PSA91. What do you think is planned for Suzuki at Wrestle Kingdom? As of right now, I don't really see what they are going to set up based on what they have on the Road to Tokyo Dome cards.
I mean,
I think Never Six-Man Gauntlet.
That Never Six-Man Gauntlet sounds pretty strong right now. Oh, you know what? The Rumble. Maybe they do a Rumble. If they do a Rumble, I got Suzuki all day.
What do you think, Karen?
Oh God, it's part of me wants Suzuki just to walk in dragging Jon Moxley by the ankle behind him, but I don't know. Like, I don't want to see him just go show up for a match and be somebody's second. But this is what happened at the Dome last year. Was that Moxley had his match with Archer, and then afterwards Suzuki's music hit because everyone was mad that he wasn't on the card, and he just showed up and started stripping as he's walking down to the ring. But it's kind of, I really wish Suzuki was on the card, but I don't know who you'd pair him with at this point. Like, he doesn't have a story in place. He hasn't had a story in place. He hasn't been around.
Right. They wrapped up the Shingo story, right before all this, World Tag League and Best Super Juniors. So yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be the Never Six-Man Gauntlet. He's probably going to team with Despy and Kanemaru or Despy and Doki.
Unless they throw together some juniors match from the undercard, which I doubt. But
I mean, I think based off of what I'm seeing on the Road to Tokyo Dome, it's very clear we're getting a Tenzan versus Suzuki Legends match at Wrestle Kingdom. So they're setting that up.
Interesting.
And it's going to be a banger, too. It'll be
45-minute banger.
Yeah.
Next question from Reddit user MMFDT20. Wrestle Kingdom Night 2 has a serious lack of star power. Okada and Tanahashi don't have anything booked, and there's nothing inked in for Naito, Ibushi, or Hiromu. Does New Japan have anything left in the reserve that can move the dial, or is this another COVID write-off?
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. They don't have any like, there's a lack of star power night 2. Well, like, number one, I'm assuming, we don't know the full card, but I'm assuming that a lot of those stars he mentioned will play some role on the second night. I do understand, the aspect that, like, they haven't announced anything for them, but I mean, what were the matches from night 2 again? I'm trying to look and see.
So night 2 is the winner of Naito Ibushi versus Jay, Sonata Evil, Shingo Cobb, and the winner of Hiromu ELP versus Taiji.
Hiromu's a big star. Shingo's a big star. Cobb's on the rise. Sonata and Evil are both wildly popular, despite what people feel about them in the States. And Jay White is a huge star, despite what people think over here. He just is. And I don't see how they lack star power. I mean, I do think overall, and maybe I'm jumping ahead to our preview show, but like, I do think that there is a lack of that marquee matchup that you like to see at a Wrestle Kingdom. And part of it is like maybe because they are splitting one show into two, Maybe it's because of the booking of COVID. We haven't been able to have that one coveted, protected match that you know, we're essentially getting main events that we've seen in the recent past. But lack of star power, it's like they're having all their stars on the shows. I don't see it.
Right. I think there's probably definitely some uncertainty with results and how it's going to play in the night too. But like you mentioned, those guys are probably going to be featured somehow the next night. Like Naito or Bushi, I have a hard time seeing them just being completely left off night 2 if one of them loses, whoever loses from night 1.
I assume they're going to sell out all 20,000 tickets both nights, my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the hard part is that they've kind of painted themselves into a corner with not having yet split the belts.
Yeah.
If the heavyweight belt and the IC belt were split, then you could have more match announcements because there's more belts to fight for. But right now you have 2 belts tied up with 3 people.
Right.
And it's almost a rehash of what happened this year where we had 2 belts tied up with 4 people, meaning a lot of people either were left out of their own singles matches, or they were given a special match, or they were in a multi-man match. I think after this past year where we also had Liger's final matches, we don't have anyone of that caliber who's terminating their career. And with travel restrictions, you can't necessarily bring someone like Moxley or bring someone like Jericho over because depending on what other work commitments they have or what, visa status they have, because those are also factors that play into situations like this. I think it's unfair to say that night 2's a wash, because having been through 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom versus an 8-hour WrestleMania, I will gladly take 2 nights where I feel like I have the energy to enjoy them for 4 hours in a block than a marathon where I'm miserable by the end of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
totally.
The difficult thing is that they've locked in this Iten Yon Iten Go, which is the January 4th, January 5th, and it falls on a Monday, Tuesday this year, just like it did this past year. So restrictions aside, they could probably, they will sell it out because people want to go. But I don't think it lacks star power. It's just that they can't announce everything until the road to Tokyo Dome
is over,
finishes.
right.
And we won't know that until next week. We have to wait for our Christmas present, which is the 23rd.
Oh, I can't wait for the snow to fall.
Yes, in Cork and Hall.
And it's going to fall on Sho and Ibushi, and it's going to be wonderful.
Next question from Just a Little Bear 01. Prepping up for Wrestle Kingdom, staying up live. Do you two do anything special for your menu for Wrestle Kingdom?
I don't stay up and watch. You know what? I don't stay up and watch any New Japan show live. I watch all of it on tape delay. So for me, the one time I stayed up and watched Wrestle Kingdom live, a whole pot of coffee and I think like a Red Bull. That was like my prep menu. I don't really have a special like thing that I eat or anything.
I know in the past, me, you, and Rich, we order some pizza and get together and watch Wrestle Kingdom. But yeah, last year was actually the first time that I watched night 2 live. And yeah, just was pounding Red Bulls.
This time I'm gonna do uppers.
What about you, Karen?
Nobody laughed at my joke about drug use.
On special events such as this, I like to hit the kitchen and make my New Japan cakes. So I make pancakes. New Japan pancakes. New Japan cakes.
Are they just regular pancakes or are they like the souffle cakes?
I'm working on souffle cakes, and I actually can make them.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know if I'm going to do a fruit compote this time around, or if it's going to be Nutella and banana. Got to figure out what I'm feeling around the new year. See what my 2021 has in store.
I saw something online where you can like cheat and make souffle cakes in like a Instapot. So I'm thinking I might.
I tried making them in my rice cooker.
And that too.
Come out. Yeah, they don't come out souffle. I can guarantee you that. They come out more dense, kind of not necessarily a brownie, but it's a very singular beefy pancake.
Oh, that sounds good.
But it hits your stomach like a rock. I'll tell you that much.
Next question from Dom Homie 101. With several new matches being announced for Wrestle Kingdom 15, which of these matches are your sleeper match to be a banger? My pick is Tanahashi versus Great-O-Khan.
Yeah, I think Dom Homie 101 is a very smart man.
Yeah, that would be my pick too.
Sonata Evil.
Oh.
I'm ready for it to go off the rails.
You know what? I would love for Sonata Evil to be like really great, because that would be a sign to me that 2021 might be great.
Next question from Muzzle. He says, what do you see being done in the pre-shows of both nights, and could we see the return of my favorite match, the New Japan Rumble?
I don't know what's going to be on the pre-show, but I mean, I've always loved the New Japan Rumble. I don't know if it's necessary, though, because it's always been a way to get people shoehorned onto the show, and now there's 2 nights, and they got a lot of slots to fill. Plus, they're probably going to do the 6-man gauntlet again, so I don't really know. I mean, do they even need a pre-show?
I don't think they need a pre-show, but they still might do one. And also with the Rumble, normally they try and like bring in people. It's going to be hard to bring like special guests or one-time appearances for that Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, I saw, again, I hate to bring it up, but I did see, in all seriousness, I saw a lot of people clamoring for Stardom to be there again, and I was like, I mean, they can't air the match.
Right.
So it's like, not that I'm against it at all. I'd be for it, but it's like, I kind of want to see it if it's going to happen, and they can't even air it, so it doesn't really help that much if I can't see the match.
That was the most frustrating thing about seeing that match, because the match was really, really good. But even on an arena seat, it's like you're trying to watch it and like everything's really tight. So I was like, oh, I'll go home. I'll put on Stardom World.
Dang.
I'll rewatch it. And then someone's like, oh, yeah, by the way, their TV deal is different. So it won't get put on Stardom World. It won't ever be put on YouTube. It won't ever be shown anywhere else, which kind of defeats the purpose. Because one of the primary goals, apparently, of Stardom is to start appealing to a larger audience.
Right.
But the largest audience isn't inside the Tokyo Dome. It's everybody watching around the world.
Right.
So I don't know how they would get around that.
Well, the one thing I will say is the majority of fans that I saw clamoring for this, I can assure you, don't watch Stardom. And the way I know is because it was all on Twitter, and I'd go and I'd check their name, and then I'd search Stardom next to it. They'd have no other tweets except for the one narrative tweet that they want to see Stardom at the Tokyo Dome. But you look up their name in Mayu Iwatani, nothing. You look up their name in like Julia, nothing. You look up their name in like
Jungle Kiona.
They don't watch this shit. Like, they just want to start a narrative again, It's like,
Well, it's the whole thing. I don't want New Japan to be WWE in Japan.
Right.
yeah.
The Joshi take their craft and they take pride in their craft. And they shouldn't have to be shoehorned onto a New Japan show to sell. Would it be nice? Yeah, if people can watch the match, sure, but it's not a requirement that they work together, that they be on the same show together. Just because their significant other works for one company doesn't mean that it's a guaranteed thing or a necessary thing.
Right. So we just have a quick little news items here to go over real quick, and then we'll get to the recommended match of the week. So New Japan, they announced that the anniversary show was going to be held at Budokan Hall in 2021 instead of the normal Ota War Gymnasium.
They're trying to make up that lost revenue from 2020.
Yep. Be a great place to do Naito Hiromu.
Would it? Because that means Bushi probably got to lose.
Right. I'm just saying.
Why do you sound surprised by that?
Tokyo Sports Awards were announced this week. MVP award went to Naito. Okada versus Naito took the match of the year. And then Hiromu Takahashi, from returning from his major neck injury, took the Fighting Spirit Award. Then the note here from Wrestling Observer Radio, there was a note on the future of Chris Jericho. Apparently, former NJPW president and CEO Harold May reportedly held off on getting Jericho back due to the costs of bringing in the AEW star, with May leaving the company last month and being replaced by Takami Obari. Jericho doesn't currently have a contract with New Japan, but there's now renewed interest within the company to bring Jericho back for a match. And last news item here, it was announced that Fred Rosser did sign with New Japan in August. So he's not just a random freelancer. So we're going to skip some of these random questions and put them to next week so we can get to the recommended match of the week.
I'm looking at our awards from last year. Hiromu returning from injury did not win our Fighting Spirit Award.
What won our Fighting Spirit Award last year?
Oh, you'll be mad if I tell you.
What was it?
Ospreay competing in the New Japan Cup, Best Super Juniors, J Cup, G1, and Super Junior.
Yes, right.
It's like, that's cool, but Hiromu returned from injury.
Yeah.
A career and possibly life-threatening injury.
Well, based off what
Shit's funny.
Based on some of the voting for this year, I think we're going to be seeing something kind of similar with the Fighting Spirit this year.
I'm pissed about Fighting Spirit this year.
Just write me in. I have the best fighting spirit.
So recommended match of the week. Last week, Josh's pick was Tenryu versus Hashimoto from August, was that 98?
August 1st, 1998, G1.
Yes. I hate to give a rush review here, but I know we're running late, but awesome matchup. Ton of strikes. Crowd was super hot. Really wanted Hashimoto to defeat Tenryu. This was a war. Tons of strike exchanges. Hashimoto implementing his DDT. There was a top rope DDT that was pretty crazy. Mid-air wheel kick. Hashimoto catching Tenryu.
That part was so awesome.
Just a ton of great back and forth. Tenryu barely getting Hashimoto up for a powerbomb that looked crazy. It's a ton of great back and forth. If you haven't watched this yet, definitely go out of your way to watch this matchup on New Japan World. Hashimoto versus Tenryu.
What would you have rated it?
Probably 4.5.
Damn, that's pretty high. With Jeremy's modern eyes.
And so Karen has our pick for this week's recommended match of the week. So what do you got for us, Karen?
Well, in light of our Super J Cup discussion, I decided to go back to 2016 and pick the finals match, which was Kushida versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru, which was on August 12th, 2016. And literally Kushida's path to the finals was fighting almost all of Noah. He opened against Taiji Ishimori. He went against Keno. I think he fought Taichi as well.
I don't remember.
And then Kanemaru. Or I could be wrong about that. But what I liked about it was that, Kanemaru came in, had Despy, and I think Suzuki with him. Or no, it was Taka Michinoku. He didn't go to the ring alone. So Kushida, being Kushida and actually using his big brain, decides, I'll go to the ring, but I won't go alone either. So he brings Liger and Taguchi with him. So before the match even opens, Suzuki-gun's trying to tell Kushida to send his lackeys to the back. And they're like, no. If you have support, he has support. Which was a nice, refreshing thing to see. I promise every time I come on here, I'm not going to always recommend a Kushida match. But I didn't have much time because I had to take my dog to the vet today. So it was one of those, I wanted to find something that was topical unfortunately, the Super J Cup archive on New Japan World is very limited.
Yeah, and I have not seen this matchup because this was kind of before I was watching New Japan full time. So looking forward to checking this out.
You know what? I think I thought it was a Super Junior match. I didn't realize it was a Super J Cup match. So I don't know I feel like I might have seen this once, but I kind of don't remember. So I'm excited to check it out again.
It's the reason Kushida's in the montage wearing the gold robe, because that's the year he won.
Yeah.
Well, nice. We'll check that out. Super J Cup 2016, Kushida versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. And that is going to wrap things up for this week. Karen, tell our listeners where they can find you online.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at Hey Karen Sensei. And all my other social media is attached to those. So come on by, say hello.
Awesome. So next week, like I mentioned, we'll be back to announce the winners of the 2020 Keepin It Strong Style Year-End Awards. So make sure you go out and get your vote in, and
please,
we can have the best results possible. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting suplex.com/donate. Click on the donate button under Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. The show is at KI Strong Style. I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. The network's at Social Suplex on Twitter, on Facebook. We're facebook.com/Social Suplex. Also, we're in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. You can check out our Discord channel, Social Suplex. And make sure you check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. We have the Ricky and Clyde Wrestling Show from Scotland. We have the Grave Consequences with Caleb and Maserati. The 8-Bit Suplex with Josh number 2 and Sandy. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. And Great Match Generator with Danny and Beast Mike. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Itchy bun.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.